Late at night, a train rumbles along the tracks, its windows glowing. Akihito Machida, 24, lets out a long, tired sigh. Slumped in his seat, he looks completely exhausted after 33 straight days of work. Remembering the chaos at his office, he holds on to the idea of his day off tomorrow. He imagines a peaceful camping trip in nature to refresh himself. Crushing fatigue starts pulling him towards sleep. A young woman steps closer and asks with concern if he is all right. Consciousness drifts into the black of a deep, dreamless sleep. A sudden jolt from the train's abrupt stop wakes him and his eyes widen in alarm. Panic floods him as he realizes he completely overslept and missed his stop. Alone on a deserted platform, he stands as the train doors hiss shut and the train pulls away. An eerie wind sweeps through the dark, empty station as he wonders where he is. He looks up at a weathered sign that says Zoragi, a station name he's never heard. Confused, he assumes he must have boarded the wrong train while exhausted. Scanning the station, he feels a growing unease as he realizes it is completely unmanned. Brushing off the strangeness, he pulls out his phone to check his location. His heart drops when his phone shows out of service, cutting him off completely. Finding no timetable, he steps outside to get his bearings. Entering a dark forest, he uses his phone's dim flashlight to see. After 2 hours, he sinks to his knees, completely lost and hopeless. Looking up with a bead of sweat on his brow, he realizes something is very wrong. Far off, he sees a faint light at the entrance of a dark tunnel. Hoping it's an exit, he walks toward the light. Stepping into the cavern, his phone light barely cuts through the thick darkness. A strange electronic chime sounds, so he looks at his phone, confused. Wondering whether he can hear the tide, he sees a blinding light erupt in front of him. A powerful blast erupts from the tunnel, hurling him off his feet. The world fades into a blur of light as he hurtles through space. Landing in a strange place, he is completely disoriented and mutters that it must be a lie. Standing on a rocky cliff above the sea, he is surprised that it is daytime now. Startled, he looks down and discovers his suit has turned into sturdy outdoor gear. Spinning, he looks for the tunnel he just left, but it's gone. Curtsying gracefully, she introduces herself as Olivia of the half-payment marquisate. Watching the crashing waves, he accepts the terrifying reality of his situation. Behind him, a sound is answered by a soft, hesitant voice. Startled, he jumps and lets out a yelp as he turns around. He spots an odd floating pink object shaped like a drill. He then spots a stunning girl in an ornate dress with golden twin tails. He is completely captivated and thinks she is an incredibly beautiful girl. A young woman steps closer and asks with concern if he is all right. Snapping out of his daze, he bows deeply and apologizes for staring while lost. She smiles kindly and tells him it's understandable given what happened. According to her, a storm wrecked her ship and washed her ashore here. Akihito is stunned to discover he is speaking with a real shipwreck survivor. He tries to explain that he came through a tunnel, but she looks confused. He realizes he sounds crazy, scratches his head and struggles to find the right words. She suddenly remembers her manners and realizes they have not introduced themselves yet. Curtsying gracefully, she introduces herself as Olivia of the half-payment marquisate. He introduces himself as Akihito Machida, assuming her noble title is merely part of a character persona. Olivia asks where he is from, and when he says Japan, the name is entirely unfamiliar to her. Apologizing politely for not knowing, she makes him think to himself that she is kind. He asks if she knows where the island might be. Coming from the Legman Kingdom, she was traveling to marry the Prince of Nissel. Fantastical names, Marcosate, Kingdom, and Prince make Akihito's head spin. Olivia laughs, pointing out that they are both in the same predicament. And the truth finally hits Akihito. Growing horror makes him realize he has somehow wandered into another world. His mind instantly goes to a familiar cliché, and he wonders where the promised cheat skills are. A dramatic inner collapse leaves him lamenting that no goddess has granted him powers. Olivia gently brings him back to his senses and suggests they search for other survivors. Adopting a fantasy perspective, he asks whether concepts such as jobs and skills exist here. She confirms they do and proudly says her job is Holy Knight. Surprised, he took it back when he realized the delicate-looking girl was in a physical combat class. She says checking his status is simple and encourages him to try. Nervous but steady, he closes his eyes and recites the words, "Status open." A glowing, translucent screen appears out of thin air, leaving him stunned. His eyes widened in disbelief when the job field showed only the word camper. He stares at the screen, completely puzzled about what a camper job is. Reviewing his status, he records his name, role, and 5 starting points. Exploring the skill tree, he sees a list of abilities he can unlock with points. A camp item exchange tab catches his eye, and he wonders what it does. He reads his skill details and learns that he gains points daily and levels up by camping. Tapping the item tab, he finds a vast catalog of camping gear that excites him. Weighing skills against items, he decides how best to spend his 5 points. Olivia leans in with a smile and asks whether he has figured out his job. His status screen still visible, he says he appears to be a camper. Olivia looks puzzled and admits she has never heard of that profession. Enthusiastically, he explains that camping is about enjoying nature and cooking outdoors. He describes sitting by a campfire under the stars while Olivia watches with sparkling eyes. Sheepishly, he admits that he learned everything from watching online videos. Sensing his potential is greater than he realizes, she urges him not to be so modest. She clasped her hands and gave him a radiant smile, sure he would become great. Recoiling from the force of her smile, he imagines it could kill. Asked about his skills, he gets flustered and assumes her boyfriend must be a prince. Apologizing, he says he hasn't spent any skill points yet. She tells him that the way he spends his points will determine his whole life here. Back at his screen, he realizes the power of gaining 4 points every day. At the start, he spends 1 point to raise his basic physical strength. They walk through a dense forest as sunlight filters through the tall trees. Twisted roots and dense undergrowth tangle across the forest floor. After a long search, they find no sign of anyone else. He says they haven't found anyone, just as Olivia begins to stumble from exhaustion. Noticing her struggle, he reassures her not to worry and says he will get them water. Asked if he knows water magic, he just points to his item exchange menu. He summons a large water container from his menu in a bright flash of light. A brand new 20-liter water tank, filled to the brim, appears at his feet. Proudly, he shows her the spigot and says this is the camper's incredible power. Olivia beams and gratefully accepts the offered fresh water. A sudden, crucial realization freezes her happy expression. She gives him a sheepish look and asks if he has a cup. Akito's triumphant expression changes to pure shock at his simple oversight. Akihito carefully weighs the cost of a cup against their future needs. Practical as always, Olivia announces she will drink straight from the spigot. When the spigot is turned, a precious stream of clean water begins to flow. Leaning in for her first drink, she gets splashed by the gushing water. A powerful stream slams into the noblewoman, making her choke and sputter violently. Mortified, she begs him to look away while he holds out a freshly summoned cup. He regrets not summoning the more versatile Sierra cup right from the start. Now fully recovered, Olivia marvels at what she believes is a legendary skill. Akito clarifies he traded points and did not use a real storage skill. She insists his ability is extremely rare, present in only 1 in 30,000 people. Akihito is shocked to discover his simple skill is regarded as legendary in this world. He explains excitedly that his item exchange ability is not limited to water. Proudly, he shows the catalog of modern camping gear available to him. Olivia is completely speechless, stunned by the range of things he can do. Amazed, she sees the power of his camper job, a concept completely new to her. Akihito feels a surge of pride, not used to such high praise. His worry about his seemingly useless job gives way to confidence. With renewed purpose, he says they will face this challenge together. Touched by his sincerity, Olivia gently asks him to be her friend. Without hesitation, he agrees and asks her to call him Akihito. A firm handshake sealed their new partnership and friendship. Dusk falls and they know they must prepare for the night. Akihito chooses a clearing for their campsite, and Olivia is experiencing it for the first time. He fears the sheltered noblewoman will be afraid to sleep outdoors. Olivia is thrilled, not afraid, by the adventure of camping. Sent to gather firewood, she rushes into the woods with great enthusiasm. A loud commotion echoes from the forest while Olivia gathers wood. As he waits, Olivia calls to him from the trees. Returning effortlessly, she carries a log far too large for most people. Stunned, Akihito watches as she displays the massive log, revealing her incredible strength. Gently, he explains the wood must be smaller to burn properly. Olivia nods in understanding, wearing a cheerful, determined smile. A sharp crack as she snaps the huge log in half with her hands. Staring in disbelief, he struggles to process what he just saw. She explains softly that it is just a basic Holy Knight skill, bare-handed blade. Privately, he calls her the Drill Princess as he wonders about the nobles of this world. Taken aback, he finds he doesn't dislike her incredible strength. Sudden rustling in the nearby undergrowth breaks the quiet. Akihito spins around, his senses sharp after the sudden noise. A massive wolf-like creature bursts into the clearing, frightening Akihito. Olivia calmly identifies the beast as a devil rat, leaving him shocked. She steps in front of him to protect him and warns that it can deliver a deadly bite. Eyes closed, she begins to chant and draws in bright, holy energy. Eyes snap open as she speaks the last line of the incantation. Akihito watches in awe, bracing for a powerful blast of divine magic. Foregoing magic, she lunges and obliterates the monster with a single punch. Completely stunned by the sudden brutal display of physical strength, Olivia bows deeply in apology, leaving Akihito completely confused. She regrets that the branch she held as a weapon shattered on impact. Claiming a lack of experience, she takes the blame, while he points out the shattered wood is perfect kindling. He explains that the fine, dry kindling she made is ideal for starting a fire. Her mood instantly changes from dejection to a delighted understanding. She praises his superior knowledge, and he awkwardly disagrees. This encounter makes it clear that monsters exist in this world. Taking in the forest, he accepts that he is in a fantasy world. He knows he urgently needs his own weapon to survive. Now that the kindling is ready, the next step is to start the fire. Akihito confidently says he'll start the fire. With a triumphant grin, he summons a simple, disposable lighter for a single point. He explains how the lighter works, and Olivia immediately assumes it is a magic item. He asked her to put more of the kindling she had expertly prepared on the fire. With comical, energetic enthusiasm, she adds the wood, making a huge pile. A single click brings the flame to the tinder. Flames leap to life, and they cheer together at their shared success. A deep satisfaction fills him, something his corporate life had long lacked. Once the adrenaline fades, Olivia becomes somber and appears distressed. Her mention of the betrothal makes Akihito flustered and apologetic. Awkward silence fills the room while Akihito questions his feelings. Turning his attention to their situation, he opens his status screen. He knows he can't ask Olivia to keep watch for monsters all night. He understands that keeping them safe right now is more important than food. He steels himself, knowing he must spend his last points to protect them. Olivia stares into the crackling flames, lost in thought. She turns to catch his eye, her face soft in the firelight. Smiling serenely, she admits enjoying herself despite everything. Her sudden confession leaves him completely off guard. She credits him for making their difficult day unexpectedly enjoyable. After a day of unbelievable events, he reflects on it all, from monsters to setting up camp. Looking at her, a quiet understanding appears in his eyes. Gazing at the fire's comforting warmth, he feels the same peace. Quietly, he admits he felt the same about their day. A warm, sincere smile spreads across his face as he agrees with her. A quiet moment passes between them, filled with shared understanding and happiness. He reviews his remaining 2 points, his mind made up. Determined to protect their fragile peace, he knows which skill to choose. Olivia notices his sudden change in demeanor and looks at him with a questioning expression. With his last 2 points, he unlocks the base camp blessing skill. Slamming his hand on the ground, he declares the clearing their official campsite. A brilliant wave of light radiates outward, forming a protective barrier. Standing tall, he vows to embrace his new life and enjoy the adventure. Settled in their new sanctuary, they plan the next day. Just beyond the edge of the light, pairs of predatory eyes watch them from the darkness. Unseen creatures teem in the forest, kept at bay only by his skill. Their small glowing camp stands as a lone beacon of safety in the vast wilderness. The flag marks their territory and symbolizes his new identity and purpose. Once their safety is secured, a more mundane problem becomes apparent. Clutching his stomach, Akihito finally realizes how hungry he really is. He remembers the day's chaos during his grueling work schedule before he arrived. Desperate for his daily points, he hopes they will solve their looming food crisis. He thinks of Olivia, aware she must be just as hungry. With the campfire dying down, Olivia calls Akihito's name in a nervous voice. Noticing the flames, she says they are shrinking. Akihito turns, concerned about what will happen if the fire goes out. Olivia's eyes widen with fear as she imagines the suffocating darkness. Noticing her trembling, he realizes she must be afraid of the dark. Stammering, she says anyone would be scared in a forest this creepy. Akihito smiles warmly and tells her it will be okay. His gentle expression makes her briefly speechless and surprised. He says to add small twigs if the flames are weak. He asked her to gently lay thin twigs on the embers. She gently adds kindling to the last glowing coals. Suddenly, the fire surges back to life, bright and strong. Bolivians rejoice as Akihito announces their success. She praises his impressive camping skills, clearly amazed by the result. Playfully, she adds more wood and vows not to let the fire's ash beat her. Laughing, she rubs some smoke from her eyes. Relief washes over Akihito as he sees her spirits return. Noticing she must be tired, he suggested they rest. Olivia's demeanor suddenly changes as she leans toward him. She formally announces she is the prince's fiancée and will sleep nearby. Akihito is utterly baffled by her sudden odd declaration. She insists she can't possibly use her hyper-aura sword. A sly smile crosses her face as she thinks being his girlfriend could be fun. Panicking, Akihito insists he has no such thoughts. She apologizes for the joke and he tells her it's no problem. Relieved, she smiles and praises him as a fine person, which leaves him feeling oddly guilty. Akihito gathers a bundle of dry grass to make beds for the night. They lie down on separate makeshift beds of leaves. Akihito hears her soft giggle and turns to her with a questioning look. She admits she finds it all strange after he asks what's funny. Stranded and hungry, she still feels a sense of excitement. Smiling radiantly, she announces this is her first truly free night. Her sincere words reach the tired, overworked salaryman. Agreeing, he realizes he hasn't felt this unburdened in a long time. Looking up, his eyes widen as sudden, profound awe fills him. Captivated by the star-filled night sky, he gazes upward. Smiling, he savors the rare luxury of having this view all to himself. The next morning, sunlight pours through the forest canopy. Akihito sits up and stretches as Olivia sleeps soundly nearby. Breathing in the fresh air, he thinks about how great it is to wake up at a campsite. First, he checks his points by bringing up his status screen. A grin spreads when his special skill grants him 4 new points. He chooses to save his points until Olivia wakes. Next, he checks the tank's precious water supply. He taps the container and is relieved to find it completely full. While he checks the spigot, Olivia calls his name. Sitting up, she rubs the sleep from her eyes and wishes him a good morning. Akihito pauses, stunned to see her without her iconic drill hairstyle. Flustered, he looks away quickly and pretends to check his status again. He says the water's been refilled and she can use it. When she's ready, he says he'll make their breakfast. Scrolling through his skill tree, he sees the camp food knowledge option. He pictures all the delicious meals he could make if he had the ingredients. Knowing there is no food, he decides not to take the risk. Now fully dressed and styled, Olivia tells him she is ready. She has fully regained her noble bearing, dazzling Akihito. Briefly stunned, he watches her shift back to her usual self. Ignoring his own hunger, he says he will get them food. He uses the food gacha to get something they can eat right away. Tapping the screen, he hopes to find something that needs no cooking. Spending 1 point, summons a small white cooler box. He and Olivia lean in, holding their breath as the lid pops open. 2 convenience store rice balls are inside, 1 tuna mayo and 1 salmon. They sit down in Akihito, and Akihito comments on how delicious they look. Olivia examines the odd triangular object and asks whether it is food. Trying to eat it without utensils, she takes a bite. Akihito stops her quickly and shows how to open the plastic wrapper. Fascinated, she watches him demonstrate the proper technique. Filled with anticipation, they get ready to take their first bite. Olivia takes a cautious bite from the unfamiliar bowl of rice. Akihito takes a bite too, and his eyes widen with pure delight. Both say at once that the simple meal is incredibly delicious. Tears came to his eyes, because he'd never tasted an onigiri this good. The savory filling and the crisp seaweed delight Olivia. Akihito finishes his meal, grateful but wishing for one more. Smiling warmly, he listens as Olivia asks if she can have another one. After breakfast, he says it's time to begin the day's activities. Looking toward the coast, he states the group's first objective. A tall plume of smoke rises from the signal fire they've built. Olivia watches, not knowing what a signal fire is. Akihito says it could alert passing ships to their location. He then outlines their other goals as searching for people, food, and water. He also says they must wash their own clothes. Scratching his shoulder, he admits he's desperate for a bath after 2 days. They move deeper into the thick, rustling forest. Olivia sees him struggling with vines and tells him confidently to leave it to her. Using her Vance skill, she blasts a clear path ahead. Amazed, Akihito listens as Olivia coyly calls it a lady's grace. Leading cheerfully, she admires the power of her skill. Her elegant boot lands firmly on the freshly cleared forest floor. They walk on through the quiet woods and Akihito hears nothing. Olivia closes her eyes and activates her hearing enhancement. Her senses widen so she can hear sounds far beyond the normal range. Her ear twitches as she strains to hear a distant sound. Hearing flowing water, she points them in the right direction. Following her lead, they hurry through the trees. They burst into a clearing and find a fast, clear stream. Standing on the bank, Akihito notices the stream is unnaturally wide. Olivia is taken aback when he suggests the river's course could be artificial. Choosing to follow the stream, they remain cautious of the rough terrain ahead. Deep in the forest, Akihito senses an ominous presence and reminds himself to stay cautious. He warns Olivia they must stay alert because they don't know what's hiding here. They follow a stream and spot something unusual in a clearing ahead. Akihito wonders what it is. He spots several tree stumps neatly cut and realizes someone has been working here. Olivia notes that cut-down trees have been used to form a dam in the river. She then notices another clearing beyond a small rise, and Akihito confirms he sees it. Both watch, their faces showing surprise and wonder at their discovery. A clearing reveals a quaint cottage tucked in a grove of giant whimsical mushrooms. Olivia says it looks like a fairy house, and Akihito points out it is too small for people. Excitedly, she imagines it could be the home of gnomes from storybooks. Akihito concludes the person who lives here must have cut down the trees. A loud creak sounds as the small cottage door begins to swing open. Akihito narrows his eyes, knowing they must stay on guard against whoever is inside. When the door opens, Akihito instinctively pushes Olivia behind him to protect her. A small bipedal cat dressed in clothes with a satchel steps out, looking equally surprised. The creature declares that something has appeared, and Akihito is stunned to see a talking cat. In the mushroom grove, the small cat person watches the two humans cautiously. Akihito wonders what this upright creature is and whether it is a monster. He assumes that from how it looks. It might just look like a cat, but still. The cat calls them a strange sight, and Akihito thinks to himself that it's his line. A larger cat steps forward and tells the first cat to calm down. The new cat, with a patched face, calmly recognizes the newcomers as human. The first cat asks whether they are really humans as Akihito and Olivia watch. Realizing they can talk, Akihito decides to be friendly and says a cheerful hello. Tama, the first cat, is delighted because she has never seen a human's smooth face before. When Akihito asks about a transaction, the patch cat Buchi starts to explain. Both are stunned to learn a ship visits the island once a month. Akihito feels a surge of hope. They might secure passage on that ship. Relief lights Olivia's face as she becomes certain they can now reach the capital kingdom. Buchi asks if they have come to trade, and Tama adds that humans bring delicious food. Akihito says they were shipwrecked and washed up here, surprising the cats. Buchi understands, and Tama offers sympathy for their terrible ordeal. Relieved, Akihito senses the cats are kind and likely to help them. He asked what this place was called, and the two cats happily answered. They introduced themselves as Buchi and Tama, members of the minion tribe from Marvel Island. Akihito is stunned to learn the cats are sacred beasts, and that this is their holy land. He asks if there are any other humans here, but Buki says the traders left days ago. Akihito thanks him, realizing the ship will not return for some time. He summons the resolve to survive with Olivia by using his camper skills until then. Turning to Buchi and Tama, he asks where they can find food. Buchi explains how the minions fish, forage, and hunt and trade their goods for glowing stones. Akihito asks about the stones, and Olivia identifies them as valuable magical gems. The cats say rare food can also be found in the caves, but Buchi warns of terrifying monsters lurking deep in the caves. Startled by the news, Akihito realizes he must be extremely careful. Buchi offers to show them the fruit groves, and Akihito accepts gratefully. They trail the two minions out of the whimsical mushroom village. The group moves through the forest's dense, rustling foliage. Walking a clear path, Olivia and Akihito appreciate all the help they've received. The cats also tell them about a nearby waterfall where they can bathe. Olivia is deeply moved by their kindness, her heart soothed by their warmth. Akihito says the ship won't be back for a while. Olivia grows tense, knowing she must go back or her family's name will be ruined. Her fiancé, the Prince of Nissil, may think she ran away from the engagement. She will not let this misunderstanding weigh him down. Akihito listens closely as a new idea begins to take shape. He notices Olivia is not very enthusiastic about her upcoming marriage. A loud rush starts echoing through the trees ahead of them. They arrive at the magnificent blue waterfall Buchi had described. Akihito announces he wants to wash his hair and body, surprising Olivia. Incredulous, she asks if he really plans to bathe right here, and he confirms it. Utterly mortified at the idea of bathing outdoors in the open sun, Olivia can't stand the thought. Smiling, Akihito gently explains that staying clean helps prevent illness. She understands his point but still feels hesitant and flustered. Reassuring her, he says it will be fine and mentions her engagement to the prince. Suddenly she says that if anyone spied on her, she would make them take their own life. Akihito is taken aback and explains it was just something her mother used to say. Smiling, He tells her to wait because he has something that will help. He summons a towel set for one point that includes towels, toothbrushes, and razors. Olivia holds a toothbrush with wonder and asks what items a camper can get. Grinning, he explains that he can only summon items specifically for camping. He says he'll wait behind a large rock, and she accepts the towel gratefully. Vigorous splashes echo from the calm pool at the waterfall's base. Olivia eases her hand into the cool, clear water. She admits she never imagined bathing outdoors. Sinking into the water, her long hair fans out as she sighs at how wonderful it feels. Seated against the large rock formation, Akihito waits patiently for her. A smile crosses his face, pleased that she seems to be enjoying her bath. He pictures her iconic drill hairstyle and imagines how it could be washed. A comical image of her struggling with a washboard and a stick pops into his head. Olivia calls from the forest to say she is ready. Akihito turns as she steps out from behind the rock and apologizes for the wait. Smiling, he tells her it's his turn to bathe now. With her hair let down, Olivia says she will go hunting while he washes. Akihito is taken aback by her sudden, unexpected declaration. Blushing slightly, he agrees and tells her to be careful on her way. He asks whether she's really going hunting, and she answers with a bright smile. Now that her stamina is back, she says she can't rely on him anymore. He tries to protest, insisting she has already helped him so much. Interrupting him, she declares firmly that she will provide the meat for dinner. Feeling overwhelmed, Akihito lets her handle it and says they'll meet at base camp. She agrees with a happy smile, and he returns it, trusting her. Waving a cheerful goodbye, she leaves as he wishes her well, surprised she can hunt too. Clothes and boots lie on the shore as he prepares to enter the water. Splashing cool water over his head, he sighs with huge relief. He leans back and says how good it feels to finally be properly clean. A loud rustle comes from the bushes right beside him. Startled, he snaps his head around, trying to tell if it's an animal or a monster. Panic hits him when he realizes that without Olivia, he is a completely defenseless salaryman. Under the waterfall, Akihito anxiously scrolls through his status screen. He discovers that a proper axe for machete costs 5 points, far more than he has. A sudden rustle in the bushes makes him jump and reminds him of the constant danger. He prioritizes food and laundry, especially if Olivia returns empty-handed. While drying himself, he wonders whether a noble like Olivia has ever had to do laundry. Thinking about her family's troubles, he imagines how deeply anxious she must be. Now dressed, he admits Olivia's help was essential, and he couldn't have survived on his own. He sets out to ease her worries however he can before the rescue ship arrives. Thoughts of the ship leave him uncertain, and he doesn't even know how to get home. Putting his worries aside, he focuses on the present and looks for the fruit grove. He knows he can't waste time and must find food before nightfall. Pushing through the undergrowth, he is certain he's near the spot Tama described. Entering the clearing, he stares up in awe at a single magnificent fruit tree. The fruit hanging from the high branches looks delicious, and he knows they are mangoes. Standing at the base of the massive trunk, he considers how he could possibly reach them. Seeing the smooth bark, he decides climbing is impossible. Searching for a tool, he is distracted by a sharp sound above. The sudden loud squawk makes him jump, and he looks up with wide, startled eyes. Scanning the area, he wonders if he only imagined the bird insulting him. The harsh squawk rings out again, confirming he was not imagining it. He is stunned to see 2 large, imposing birds wearing bandanas perched on a branch. Staring in disbelief, he tries to figure out what kind of creatures they are. A bird puffs out its chest aggressively to assert dominance. The creature drops to a lower branch and locks him with a threatening stare. He notices the bird calling him small fry and is irritated by its tone. The bird puffs out its chest defiantly and chirps as if it's looking straight at him. Akihito is stunned not only by the insult but by the creature's extremely foul mouth. Perched above, the birds taunt him, asking the small fry if he wants their fruit. They start eating the mangoes in front of him, making loud, satisfied noises. Opting for diplomacy, he politely asked if they would share. One of the birds looks down its beak at him smugly, making it clear they want to know what they get out of it. He says he has nothing to offer now, but promises to repay their kindness someday. The birds listen with skeptical expressions, clearly unmoved by his empty promise. The bird smirks and says it might consider his request if he begs. Akihito is stunned by the creature's terrible personality, his plan, and his shambles. He realizes they don't intend to help and only want to mock and humiliate him. Seeing it as pointless, he decides to just ignore the obnoxious bullies. Fed up with being ignored, the bird tells him to get lost if he doesn't want the fruit. He walks away as birds fly overhead, their taunts of small fry echoing. They ridicule him for expecting help and tell him to starve to death. Feeling defeated, he decides to risk the food gotcha rather than deal with them. A sudden noise in the woods startles him, and a voice asks what is wrong. Buchi asks if he came for mangoes and notices his tired expression. Akihito's face lights up with relief when he sees his friendly minion acquaintance, and he looks overjoyed. He recounts a frustrating encounter with two extremely foul-mouthed birds. Buchi says the culprits belong to the Albert tribe, a separate group of sacred beasts. Buchi confirms they are known liars with bad tempers, and Akihito understands fully. When Buchi asks whether humans are unable to climb, Akihito admits it's simply his own weakness. Buchi sighs, accepts that it can't be helped, and gets ready to solve the problem himself. Buchi climbs the tree with cat-like grace as Akihito cheers him on. Buchi comes back with a jacket packed full of ripe mangoes. Akihito thanks him warmly and promises to repay him, but Buchi has an idea. Buchi says he wants to eat mat and clams, and Akihito echoes the unfamiliar name. Listening to Buchi describe the long, thin clam, Akihito realizes he knows how to catch it. Akihito promises he'll fetch the clams, and Buchi smiles and says there's no rush. Driven by his new mission, Akihito heads straight for the sea. Filling his jacket with mangoes, he decides to drop them at camp first. The steady crash of waves on the shore signals his arrival at the beach. He walks on the wet sand with the vast, sparkling ocean stretching out before him. Scanning the ground, he quickly spots the clam's telltale holes. Crouching down, he remembers a TV show that showed how to catch them with salt. A sudden clarity reveals that the first thing he needs is salt. A status check shows he can spend his last 2 points on a bag of salt. He chooses not to buy it and instead adopts a more resourceful, sustainable solution. He uses his final 2 points to summon a sturdy metal cooking pot from his menu. Holding the pot aloft, he announces he will make his own salt from the sea. Drawing on his old science lessons, he builds a small makeshift furnace from rocks. The calculation shows 2 liters of seawater will produce about 60 grams of salt. On his first try to light the damp kindling, thick smoke fills his face. Coughing and sputtering violently, he waves the accurate smoke away from his face. Rubbing his burning eyes, he wishes he had a 1-point fire starter for Olivia. Realizing the kindling he gathered is too damp, he needs to find more. A frustrated sigh escapes him as he realizes this will take a very long time. Slumping to his knees, he feels defeated, and sure he's letting Buchi down. Thinking of Buchi's kindness, he didn't expect this favor in return. Steely determination crosses his face as he refuses to give up. His fists clench with the fierce need to repay his friend's kindness. Re-energized, he runs back and forth to the forest to gather more firewood. For hours, he tends the fire, boiling pot after pot of seawater. Determined, he tells himself he will definitely succeed in making the salt for his friend. At last, after a long ordeal, he sees the water thicken as salt crystals form. Triumphant, he lifts the pot to show the small, hard pile of salt. Tasting a small pinch, he finds it salty but delicious and decides to be patient. Utterly exhausted, he collapses onto the sand to rest after working hard. Standing by the ocean, he thinks about the simple joy of making something with his own hands. He decides to collect the clams tomorrow because it's getting late and Olivia will be back. He returns to camp and finds Olivia pale. Her hair hangs limp from exhaustion. Her defeated, unwell appearance leaves him stunned and wondering what happened. He hurries to her side, calls her name, and asks what's wrong with her drills. Ashamed, she looks down and apologizes repeatedly for failing at the hunt. He gently reassures her she doesn't need to apologize, and that it's okay. She says she found a deer but couldn't kill it because it was a holy night. Akihito tells her not to be so hard on herself, acknowledging how difficult her situation is. To cheer her up, he offers the mangoes he got from Buchi. He says they can have one now and save the rest for breakfast tomorrow. Starting to peel one for her, he realizes she may not be used to it. Taking a big, satisfying bite of the juicy fruit, he shows her. His eyes widen in delight as he says it's the most delicious mango he's ever tasted. Olivia watches him, her sadness briefly set aside by his excitement. Offering her the mango, he urges her to taste the delicious fruit. Olivia makes a soft sound and takes a tentative bite of the mango Akihito offered. Wide-eyed, she whispers it's delicious. Sitting by the fire, she looks at him and offers her most sincere words. Akihito notices she still seems down and is missing her usual vibrant energy. He chews thoughtfully as he considers what to do to cheer her up right now. Determination hardens his face. He will catch as many clams as he can to lift her spirits. One ominous drop of rain splashes on the dry ground by his foot. Another drop hits his cheek, and he thinks it might be starting to rain. Suddenly, the sky opens and a torrential downpour starts. Akihito calls out to check on Olivia while she shields herself from the stinging rain. A loud hiss, and the deluge instantly puts out their precious campfire. Akihito says he'll summon a shelter from the rain and asks her to wait a moment. Quickly navigating the menu, he remembers an item that costs only 1 point. He pulls out a large blue tarp with a flourish and says it will keep them dry. He picks up a sturdy branch to use as a makeshift tent pole. Struggling to set up the shelter, he finds the fire completely out. Knowing the darkness will only make her mood worse, he is startled by a sudden noise. Olivia lunges at him, clutching his shirt with a tight, desperate grip. Stunned, Akihito looks completely confused by her sudden action. Olivia presses her face into his chest, shutting out the world around them. He looks down at her trembling form, panicked, and asks what is wrong. Akihito holds her in the rain as her hand tightens on his shirt. Surveying the dark, stormy clearing, he is completely bewildered by the situation. A sudden jolt makes him realize something is terribly wrong with Olivia. Looking down at her with deep concern, he asks again what happened. Feeling the intense tremors racking her body, he asks if she is all right. A choked whisper escapes her as she murmurs about the suffocating darkness. He realizes the truth. Her fear is not the rain but the dark itself. Guiding her under the tarp, he notices her fear is unusually intense. Trying to reassure her, he says everything will be all right now. Holding the shelter steady, he promises he is right beside her. Anxiously, he waits under the tarp as the storm shows no sign of stopping. Peeking inside, he finds Olivia still huddled and shaking uncontrollably. Watching her shiver, he looks deeply helpless. His fist tightens in frustration, feeling useless against her pain. A strange warmth and energy suddenly surges through his entire body. He studies the new power, trying to see if it is what he suspects. A flash of insight makes him realize he has leveled up from camping. With his points restored, he assures Olivia that everything is fine now. Consumed by terror, Olivia keeps trembling with her hands over her face. A solar-powered lantern that costs 2 points appears in a bright flash of light. Holding the lantern out to her, he apologizes for the delay in getting a light. Olivia lifts her head slowly, tears filling her eyes as they widen at the warm glow. Smiling gently, he tells her she can rest without worrying that the light will go out. Tears of gratitude shine in her eyes as she looks at his kind face. Setting the lantern beside her, he creates a small beacon of safety in the dark. By morning, the storm had passed and a bright, clear sky stretched overhead. Sunlight streams through the canopy as water drips from the freshly washed leaves. Akihito stretches his arms wide, refreshed after a night's sleep. Standing tall, he says the weather is clear and the day will be good. He notes that the lantern helped Olivia calm down and fall asleep. Watching her sleep, he wonders if she has trauma tied to the dark. Choosing not to pry, he waits until she is ready to tell him. He promises that as long as she stays on the island, he will keep her smiling. Recalling his points, he moves to use them to help her, but is interrupted. A new screen opens with a skill point roulette he can spin after leveling up. It turns out he can spin the roulette once for every 2 days he camps. Pressing the start button, he prepares to try his luck. The wheel spins fast as he hopes for a big score. Determined, he shouts and presses the button to stop the spinning wheel. The wheel lands on 19 and he cheers as his total reaches a whopping 24 points. With his newfound wealth, he chooses to acquire the camp food skill first. Soft light surrounds him as he successfully unlocks the new ability. He cheers again after unlocking Pro of Preparation, now a skilled cook. Now he can properly prepare any game Olivia brings back. He spends his remaining points on camping supplies for Olivia. He wants her to be happy so she never has to be that scared again. Olivia remains fast asleep, curled into a ball to keep warm. The campsite is quiet as the fire crackles softly in the morning light. Olivia wakes up deeply embarrassed and apologizes for her behavior. Akihito says good morning as she peeks out from the shelter. He reassures her not to worry and asks if she feels all right. He pulls out a brand new 10-inch tarp he bought to cheer her up. Describing the tarp's magical glow, he suggests they build it together. Deeply moved, Olivia realizes he bought these things just for her. He starts by making breakfast using leftovers and his food gacha. The gacha dispenses a box of instant clam chowder powder. He also summons a complete outdoor cookware set to cook a proper meal. Fascinated, Olivia watches him pour the strange powder into the bowls. He pours hot water from the kettle, steam rising invitingly. Handing her a bowl, he tells her to stir it well and enjoy the pleasant aroma. Taking a careful, tentative sip, she tastes the warm soup. She smiles, her eyes lighting up with pleasure while whispering that it's delicious. Closing her eyes, she savors the soup's warm, soothing sensation. Akihito watches her with a warm, gentle smile, glad to see her at peace. Feeling re-energized, Olivia says she is ready to set up the tent and will do the work. Akihito is glad to see her spirit has returned and agrees to begin. Working together, Akihito shows her how to tie the tent ropes. Thrilled by the new experience, Olivia is enjoying something she was never allowed to try. Akihito imagines a life of strict rules where she is not allowed to cook, clean, or dress herself. A pang of sympathy makes him realize how stifling her life must have been. A final pull finishes the tent, a proud achievement for both. In awe, Olivia stares at the tent and whispers that it's the first tent she's ever built. Akihito looks at her with quiet understanding and affection. He suggests they go to the beach now to try digging for clams together. They reach the shore as gentle waves lap at the sand. Kneeling, Akihito explains the first step is to find a small hole. He shows how to sprinkle salt into the hole to make the clam come out. A razor clam shoots out of its burrow in the sand with a whoosh. Akihito quickly snatches it and holds up their first catch in triumph. Triumphant, Akihito lifts a clam he just caught. Encouraging bright-eyed Olivia, he asks her to give it a try. Instantly captivated, she calls clam digging great fun. Darting across the sand at surprising speed, she snaps up clams. The game stops when they find the salt is gone. Their small catch will not last long, he calculates. Olivia turns to him, determination building. She declares she'll just dig and unleashes a massive blast of power. Dozens of clams fell from the sky, leaving Akihito wide-eyed and stunned. They have finished the task and the pot is filled to the brim. The haul of fresh razor clams is larger than they expected. Olivia is thrilled they can finally thank their minion friends properly. While Olivia fetches the minions, Akihito prepares the clams. He applies his proof of preparation skill to the task. In an instant, he flawlessly cleans every clam. He remains seated, waiting for the others to return to camp. Olivia returns with Bucci, who is ecstatic, and Tama following. Proudly, he shows them the massive haul of fresh clams. He modestly credits Olivia with the catch. Bucci arrives carrying a surprise gift, a large block of butter. Akihito encourages Olivia to try cooking the clams. She is hesitant because she has never cooked a meal before. Taking a deep breath, she agrees to try her best. The sizzling of clams in butter fills the air. Akihito stays calm and reassures her as she panics a little. A delicious aroma has the minions waiting eagerly. Nervously, she brings out the finished dish of butter-sautéed clams. Hungry minions immediately dig into the feast. They burst into a unanimous cry of pure delight. Nervously, she asked for their verdict, and it was overwhelmingly positive. Thomas thanks her sincerely for preparing the wonderful meal. Clearly moved, Olivia is unused to such heartfelt praise. Akihito urges her to taste some of her own cooking. Hesitantly, she takes her first bite of the dish she prepared. When she tastes it, an unexpected wave of emotion sweeps over her. The simple, delicious flavor brings her to tears. Akihito sees her tears and asks if she is all right. Quickly wiping her eyes, she insists she is all right. She says she is surprised by how good her first meal tastes. Akihito gives her a warm, gentle smile. He suggests she set aside her noble duties and simply be free. Living freely is a revelation to her. He assures her that her secret is safe with him. Now she knows she can do simple things without being judged. At last she realizes she can be herself. He fully supports her new freedom. His kindness and sincerity move her deeply. Warm gratitude fills her as she looks at him. Flashing a bright, grateful smile, she thanks him for everything. That radiant smile makes his heart skip a beat. Returning her warm smile, he tells her the feeling is mutual. They enjoy a quiet moment of real happiness together. The minions humorously misread her emotional tears. Her explanation does not convince them, and they find her reasoning unbelievable. Her cooking earns praise, and they eagerly ask for another meal soon. Feeling more confident, she gladly agrees to cook again. Akihito feels relieved to see her so happy and confident. She laughs with pure, unburdened joy. The joyous party goes on, and everyone keeps asking for more food. Later that night, a strange sound rises from the shoreline. A massive silhouette rises from the dark ocean waves. From a distance, a sea lion beast can watch its camp. The next morning, Akihito wakes up feeling refreshed. He remembers last night's clam party fondly. His status shows 9 points to spend. Finally, he decides to unlock a combat skill. Olivia greets him as he considers his new skill options. She hands him a steaming cup of freshly boiled tea. He outlines his plan to learn to use an axe. Olivia agrees and says she can handle sword fighting herself. They agree it's smart to cover each other's weaknesses. They form a quiet partnership. Plan set, they focus on breakfast. One banana won't be enough to keep them going, he realizes. Using the food gotcha, he gets a container of potatoes. Olivia eagerly volunteers to cook again with him guiding her. Proudly displaying the washed potatoes, she shows they are sparkling clean. Enthusiastically, she chops the potatoes with strong, steady strokes. Watching the pot, she feels excited as the potatoes start to boil. He adds the last of their salt and Bucci's butter. This simple, delicious breakfast of buttery potatoes is ready. A fork slides easily into a perfectly cooked potato. Both take a bite and enjoy the taste. They savor a simple meal in a peaceful moment together. Akihito says he's craving some meat or fish. Olivia is determined to get meat for dinner. She rushes off on her hunt while he wishes her luck. Motivated by her example, he decides to go fishing himself. Arriving at the rocky shoreline, he gets ready to fish. Crouched beside a tide pool, he holds a bucket. He sees several small crabs and fish in the clear water. He is concerned about whether the creatures are safe to eat. He scans his skill tree in his head and plans his next upgrade. A strange presence draws his gaze up from the water. He spots a sea lion beastkin watching him from a rock. Remembering his bad experience with the birds, he feels wary. Choosing to be friendly, he cautiously calls out to it. The sea lion gives him a quick, dismissive look. It turns away completely, ignoring his greeting. Just as he is about to give up, it makes a sound, as if it wants to listen. Along the rocky shore, Akihito politely introduces himself to an odd sea lion wearing a vest. Pointing to a tide pool, he asks if the small crabs and fish are safe to eat. The sea lion's gruff bark suggests sea lions are edible, but not very tasty. Akihito thanks the creature and explains that any amount of food would be welcome. The sea lion gives a non-committal grunt and turns its head away, appearing indifferent. It dives into the ocean with a powerful splash and disappears beneath the waves. Akihito suspects the creature dislikes humans, but he decides to try fishing himself. Reaching into the tide pool, he tries to catch the tiny creatures by hand. At first, he splashes around clumsily, unable to get a grip on anything. After 10 minutes of effort, he proudly holds up a single tiny fish. Pleased with his catch, he sees this method will take far too long. Tossing the fish back, he realizes he really needs a proper fishing rod. A loud splash startles him when something lands on the rock beside him. He stares in disbelief at a stunning bundle of large fish tied with seaweed. He realizes the sea lion's voice was the same. It had gone to fetch this for him. With another quick splash, the friendly sea lion dives back into the ocean and disappears. Filled with gratitude, Akihito cups his hands and shouts a heartfelt thank you. As he carries the pot of fish, he thinks about how the kind creature had gone out of its way. Amazed by how fresh the fish are, he feels a bit awkward about receiving such a generous gift. Deciding the bounty is too good to keep to himself, he heads to the minion village. The traveler arrives at the quaint village nestled among giant whimsical mushrooms. Bucci, the patched-faced minion, greets him warmly, glad to see him back. Tama rushes over excitedly and asks why he's here as his nose twitches. Akito reveals the pot of fresh fish, and the minion's eyes light up with joy. People call him a master fisherman, but he modestly says a sacred beast gave him the skill. Bucci recognizes the description and identifies the creature as an Ishika tribe member. He explains that the Ashikas serve the half-fishmen and wear scallop shells instead of hats. Now, Akihito realizes the sea lion he met was one of these Ashika. He asks about the Ashika, wondering if they hold a grudge against humans. Bucci says the Ashika are a tribe weighed down by many internal contradictions. Akihito, confused, asked Bucci to explain what he meant by those contradictions. Bucci says they are shy but kind, eager to help others yet struggling with social interaction. They love grilled fish, but being clumsy around fire often gets them burned. Bucci says this inner conflict even gives them comically stiff shoulders. The minions tell him to be kind to the Ishika, and Akihito nods in understanding. At the camp he shares with Olivia, he prepares to cook the generous gift of fish. Using his magical preparation skill, he makes the fish ready for the fire instantly. A spotless fish lies on a wooden plank, ready to be grilled over the fire. At one point, he brings out a proper santoku knife to help with the preparation. He plans to make salt-grilled mackerel in a simple soup for his minion friends. A fish sizzles over the flames as Olivia calls his name. Returning from the hunt, Olivia is dejected and shrouded in a bleak cloud of failure. He hands her a freshly grilled fish, and the warm, savory aroma quickly lifts her spirits. He admits he didn't catch it himself and suggests they eat while they talk. He describes a strange and wonderful encounter with a kind member of the Ishika tribe. Olivia is amazed and talks about the incredible thing that happened to him today. He admits he wanted to befriend the creature but feared it would dislike him. Olivia faces him, her expression suddenly serious, taking him completely off guard. Firmly, she says he can befriend them and guarantees it. Her unwavering faith in him makes his heart skip a beat and leaves him flustered. He appreciates how kind and gentle Olivia is for believing in him so strongly. He thanks her and promises to return to the sea later to try to meet it again. He's glad they're becoming friends, but he worries getting closer could be dangerous. He knows that when the next ship arrives, Olivia must leave the island. Even the thought of their eventual goodbye already feels unbearably painful. The crackling campfire reminds them that their parting is near. Lifting his gaze, he resolves to focus on the time they have now. Olivia thanks him for the meal and promises to double her hunting efforts. They wish each other luck as she returns to the forest to try again. Watching her go, he decides he needs to be careful for now. Thinking of Ashika's love-grilled fish, he decides to bring one back as a gift. Scanning the horizon from the rocky shore, he looks for his new sea lion friend. At last, he spots the creature on a distant rock and calls, "There you are!" Approaching slowly, he offers a soft greeting to avoid startling the shy creature. Still startled, the sea lion immediately tries to slip back into the water. Akihito quickly tells it to wait and says he brought grilled fish as a thank you. The sea lion stops asking about the fish and confirms it is a gift. When he asks whether it dislikes fish, the creature quickly says no and turns away. He wonders whether its quick refusal means it actually likes the fish. Setting the offering down, he tells it the meal was delicious and that he is grateful. Cautiously, the sea lion approaches the offering and starts eating the grilled fish. Crouched nearby, Akihito watches the creature eat with a warm smile. He politely introduces himself again and asks the creature to tell him its name. The sea lion gazes out to sea and gives a soft bark. Toby. Akihito beams and thanks Toby for finally telling him his name. Toby gives him a shy, sideways look, appearing pleased by his happy reaction. Turning back to the ocean, he keeps nibbling his tasty gift. Akihito considers Toby a kind, sacred beast for helping him. He decides right away to find a proper way to repay Toby for his kindness. Sitting together, they watch a dark, ominous shape suddenly rise from the ocean. Under the waves, two glowing, menacing eyes stare out from the darkness. A massive creature bursts from the sea in a violent spray of white water. A sudden, massive disturbance catches Akihito and Toby completely off guard. Akihito instinctively drops into a crouch, shielding himself from the huge spray of seawater. The creature crashes down, and Akihito dives to shield Toby from the impact. He looks up in shock at a huge tentacled monster looming directly over them. Quickly, he asks Toby if he's all right, and the sea lion gives a small nod. Toby shakes water from his head, his face shifting into annoyance. The splash knocked his precious scallop shell hat askew. The shell falls off his head and clatters onto the wet rocks beside him. Toby gives a frustrated cry and quickly snatches his precious hat back. At that moment, two sleek killer whales broke the surface and chattered excitedly toward Toby. Akihito stands completely baffled, sensing the creature's strange, almost playful mood. Toby tells him to step back, making him even more confused about the situation. Akihito suddenly realizes they're all just pranksters, yet he still doesn't understand. The half-fishman's influence made Toby a prankster. Akihito is completely puzzled by this strange, nonsensical explanation coming from the shoreline. The giant fish then playfully smacks Toby and sends him tumbling into the water. The ocean churns as a strange parade of sea creatures starts moving away. Alone on the rocks, Akihito watches the waves, still baffled by the events. Standing on the cliff, Akihito calls out to ask if his friend Toby is okay. After the chaotic prank, he's worried the sea lion might not come back today. He remembers the strange sight of the giant fish and the killer whales. He wishes he had thanked Toby properly for the fish he brought earlier. The sea lion's sad words about being half a person keep echoing in his mind. Deciding to wait a little longer, he hopes his friend will come back. Sitting on the cliff, he wishes he could do something to help. A trail of bubbles breaks the surface of the calm ocean water. Toby bursts from the sea with a big splash. Akihito notices the two killer whales from earlier are playfully chasing him. Calling Toby's name, he feels the sea lion nudge him affectionately. Toby slips back into the water with a playful, slightly mischievous look. With a brief wink, he slips back into the waves. Far off, the killer whales are still playing energetically with Toby. The ocean roils with spray and the wild chaos of their play. After searching the shoreline for a while, Akihito finds his friend gone. A dark shape on a distant rock catches his eye, and he wonders if it's Toby. The creature turns, and Akihito feels a sharp jolt of fear. A monstrous devil rat snarls, but it's actually Fang's beard. Akihito's eyes widen with sheer terror. Horror floods him when he comes face to face with a deadly monster. This is serious. His powerful protector Olivia is missing. Frantically, he checks himself and realizes he has no weapons and is completely alone. Sharp claws sink into the rock as the creature prepares to lunge. Leaping through the air, a mangy black blur driven by rage. He throws himself back as the monster's snapping jaws miss him by inches. He scrambles away as his feet slip on the uneven rocks. He recalls Olivia saying these creatures were not very strong. Seeing its terrifying maw up close, he firmly disagrees. Without a weapon, he knows he has no chance. A second devil rat joins the hunt, steadily closing the distance. Panic rises as he realizes he's about to be caught. Desperately activating his status screen, he screams for a strong weapon. The monster's jaws snap shut the instant he makes his split-second decision. Suddenly, in a flash of light, a heavy object begins to materialize in his hands. Shouting defiantly, he watches the weapon fully form into an axe. He swings with everything he has, and the axe hits with a brutal, sickening thud. Bringing the weapon down again, he kills the monster in a spray of gore. The second devil rat screams in terror and flees into the wilderness. Breathing hard, he watches it disappear, uncertain whether he really drove it off. Collapsing to the ground, he lies exhausted and thinks he barely survived. The gloved hand still grips the axe handle, trembling with adrenaline. Sitting among the rocks, he looks at the monster he just defeated. He remembers Olivia, who could have taken care of a creature like that so easily. Clenching his fist, he resolves to ask her to train him for the future. While he sits, a familiar head surfaces nearby. Toby calls out Akihito's name with a concerned look. The young sea lion gives a small sigh, worried about his human friend. Akihito turns and is surprised and relieved to see him. Spotting Toby in the water, he hears a soft sound meant to draw his attention. Overjoyed, Akihito tells Toby he had been hoping to talk with him. Toby seems to be asking if Akihito was talking to him. Climbing onto the rocks, he nudges Akihito and asks if he's hurt. Akito smiles, showing he saw the fight and that he's okay, just a little startled. Toby apologizes and says he was too far away to get there in time to help. Akihito thanks him for his concern and asks if Toby is okay after the prank. Toby says the elaborate prank was his way of thanking Akihito. Akihito is truly moved by the unusual but sincere gesture. Toby watches quietly. Their friendship now firmly established. After a comfortable pause, Toby brings up another topic. Shyly, he says the grilled fish was delicious. Surprised by the compliment, Akihito thanks him. Smiling broadly, he tells Toby he's welcome. Offering to cook again if Toby brings more fish, he gets an eager nod from his friend. Then Akihito asked why the others had called him half a person. Toby stares at the ground, hurt and puzzled by how mean the others are to him. To the Ashika tribe, hats are extremely important. They mark adulthood and serve as a rite of passage for every member. All his peers have found their hats, but he still has none. He says he swims farther than anyone, always searching. Since he is still only half himself, he feels he cannot complain. In a vulnerable moment, he leans his head against Akihito's shoulder. Akihito firmly insists that Toby is doing his best and is not at fault. He tells Toby he's kind, hardworking, and a little unlucky. Toby is taken aback by the comment that calls Akihito a strange human. The sea lion regards him with a new curiosity and steady respect. Akihito considers how important a hat must be to the Ashika people. A brilliant idea suddenly occurs to him. He asks Toby what hat he wanted. After hearing the answer, the man in the straw hat knows exactly what to do. At a single point, a beautiful straw hat appears out of thin air. Offering the hat to Toby, he repays Toby's earlier kindness with a gift. Stunned, Tobias asked with wide, tearful eyes if the hat was for him. Akihito confirms that it is, and the young sea lion gently accepts the gift. Holding the hat, he looks at it with reverence and wonder in his eyes. He gently sets it on his head. Striking a proud, grown-up pose, he hears Akihito say, "It looks perfect." Deeply moved, Toby thanks Akihito repeatedly. He is nearly speechless with gratitude. Akihito smiles warmly, pleased his friend likes the present so much. He says he hopes they'll be able to sit and talk like this again soon. Two friends sit on the rocks, looking out over the calm sea. On the shore, they enjoy a calm, peaceful moment together. From a distance, the two arrogant Albert birds watch them warily. Back at camp, Akihito carries his new axe and a log for the fire. A single strong swing splits the log cleanly in two. He marvels at how his skill with camping tools guides his muscles. A surge of accomplishment hits him as he finally gets a proper weapon. Reflecting on the long journey, he considers the points he spent to get here. A smug grin crosses his face as a new day brings a level up. Akita points dramatically and declares he will spin the roulette for points. Sleepy Olivia steps out of the tent and says good morning to him. Still groggy, she stumbles and falls forward, crying out in surprise. Her hand accidentally presses the stop button on his screen. Both fall to the ground in a clumsy, tangled heap. Standing face to face, he asks if she's all right while she stammers an apology. Her eyes widen with embarrassment as she realizes how close they are. Scrambling away from him, she apologizes for tripping and getting too close. Akihito looks at his screen and is stunned to find he won 36 points. After getting everything else, he gives a big cheer for winning the jackpot. He thanks Olivia profusely as she stands completely bewildered and unaware of what happened. With so many points, he buys a suite of healing skills. He summons a high-quality, multi-purpose knife to use with his preparation skill. Wide-eyed and curious, Olivia watches as he shows her the new blade. With points to spare, he figures he can finally get them breakfast. He uses the food gotcha twice to give them a proper meal. A delicious-looking club sandwich appears before them with a flourish. Surprised by his good luck, he expresses delight while Olivia admires the appetizing food. A large, plain white tub appears as the second item from the gotcha. When he reveals the ice cream, Olivia's face lights up and she says she loves sweets. Olivia worries it will melt, so Akihito suggests sharing it with the minions. Noting how warm the day is, she wishes she could use ice magic to keep it cool. Akihito smiles knowingly and says he has just the thing for that. He summons a large cooler box inside a special magic-powered refrigerant pack. When he asked Olivia to charge the pack, she cheerfully agreed to do it. They reach the whimsical minion village, tucked among giant mushrooms. Bucci welcomes them warmly as they approach with the large cooler. Minions gather around, curious about the large box. With a warm smile, Akihito says he's brought a delicious treat to share. Hearing the words delicious food sends a ripple of excitement through the whole village. Opening the cooler, he says there's plenty of ice cream for everyone. The minions stare at the strange white mass, unsure whether it is actually edible. Olivia says she's never had it, so Akihito suggests they try a taste. Booty takes the first spoonful bravely as the whole village watches. Akihito and Olivia hold their breath, waiting to see if he enjoys the cold treat. Bucci's eyes fly open as he lets out a thunderous roar of pure joy. He says it's delicious and admits he completely underestimated Akihito. Olivia smiles and cheerfully tells the other eager minions to line up. Beaming with joy, she finds new happiness and helps her friends. Watching her, Akihito realizes this is a completely new experience for her. Bucci playfully tells Akihito to stop staring and get a bowl for himself. The minions dig in eagerly, taking large spoonfuls of the new treat. One of the cat people savors the cold, delicious flavor of the ice cream. The whole village is swept up in euphoria, saying it tastes like heaven. People keep asking for more, saying it's so good they could eat it every day. They start praising Akihito as a god who gives them wonderful things. A member of the minion enthusiastically suggests building a bronze statue in his honor. Olivia giggles as she pictures a grand statue of Akihito, the ice cream god. Flustered, Akihito says it's just made from plain eggs and milk. A minion reacts in shock and asks if he can really do it himself. Akihito says goat's milk will work, and now all they need are eggs. Butchie thinks carefully about where to find bird eggs. Akita fears they mean the arrogant Albert birds, but Bucci dismisses it. Bucci says there are no chickens, but there is another bird. Confused, Akihito asked which other kind of eggs they could get. Boogie's face becomes deadly serious as he identifies their dangerous target, the rock. Describing a monstrous bird over 12 meters tall, he says it nests 40 kilometers away. Bookie warns that anyone who steals its egg will be killed. Unfazed, the minions say it's worth the risk for more ice cream. Thomas suggests they capture a rock instead of just stealing an egg. With sparkling eyes, Olivia adds that rock meat is also delicious. The minions are thrilled, picturing a feast of roasted rock and ice cream. Akihito, Olivia, Bucci, and Tama form a small, determined hunting party. Akihito is sweating, feeling he may have just made a grave, sinful mistake. Reviewing his preparations, he decides which skills to learn for the dangerous trip. Deciding to spend some points, he unlocks the useful edibility judgment skill. He also gains beginner's movement magic, a teleportation skill for emergencies. Preparations complete, the small party is finally ready to depart. 4 adventurers entered the deep, looming forest. Butchie warns Tama to watch his step as the path becomes more treacherous. Tama insists he's always careful, unlike the clumsy Bucci. At that moment, Toma trips on a vine and is caught and hoisted up. Bucci sounds the alarm, worried about his friend's safety. He warns them they must cut the vine at once to keep it from crushing Tama. Akihito's eyes widen as he suddenly realizes how he can help. Stepping forward confidently, he tells the others he will handle it. He draws his knife and says he can see exactly where to cut. Activating his pro of preparation skill, he becomes a blur of motion. Impossibly precise slashes sever the thick vines in an instant. Tama lands safely on the ground, completely unharmed by the dangerous trap. Relieved, Akihito catches the dizzy minion, knowing he saved him. Olivia hurries to check on Tama, who is shaken but otherwise fine. The minions thank Akihito and Olivia sincerely for the swift rescue. Olivia praises his swordsmanship, but he explains it came from a cooking technique. A menacing presence looms in the canopy high above them. A sneering voice asks whether they are trying to prepare the mignons to be eaten. Hearing the annoying voice, Akihito looks up with a scowl. Two arrogant Albert birds perch overhead, mocking them for needing human help. Tama is flustered as Akihito explains he wasn't going to eat him. The birds fly away, jeering that mere humans do not scare them. Buchi says the sun is setting and they should keep moving. Akihito agrees and turns to continue along the path. Boogie points to the steep, rocky terrain ahead near the rock nest. The party starts the steep, dangerous climb up the cliff face. Above, the Albert birds watch, annoyed that the party ignores them. They decide to attack so the party cannot ignore them. Fruit suddenly pelted Akihito, causing her to cry out in surprise. Olivia hit as well, noting the attack was coming from above. His edibility judgment skill scans the projectiles and identifies them all as food. Furious, Akihito declares that one must never waste food. Akihito easily sorts the fruit, impressing Olivia and the minions with his skill. The Albert birds wonder what just happened, noting Akihito seems different than usual. Akihito faces the birds as a sudden, chilling thought hits him. His eyes flash as he realizes the birds themselves can be eaten. A status screen appears before the birds, labeling them edible, and they freeze in terror. Fleeing for their lives, the birds scream that they are about to be eaten. Tom eats a banana happily, and Buchi notes the bird's surprising speed. Olivia praises Akihito, amazed that his skinning skill has such a powerful effect. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently under their feet. Akihito looks up at the trembling mountain, unsure if it is an earthquake. Terrified, Buchi cries out as he recognizes the sign of a much greater danger. Pointing at the sky, he warns that the massive rock is returning to its nest. The ground splits and shatters as the gargantuan creature begins its descent. The landing sends a huge shockwave of dust and debris across the cliffside. The rock lands with a deafening screech, its monstrous bulk blotting out the sun. Staring in stunned silence, Akihito says the creature is enormous. Not content with one, a second massive rock lands beside the first. A third rock rises, its menacing eye staring down at the intruders. The three rocks joined in a fierce, unified screech, ready to defend their home. Close up on a rock's angry eye reveals deadly intent. Buchi panics and shouts that this is a truly dangerous situation. One of the rock's dives has sharp talons aimed directly at the minions. Massive claws slam into the rock with devastating, earth-shattering force. Terrified, Thomas screams, thinking he's about to be eaten, and dives for cover. He slips into a narrow crevice just in the nick of time. Talons from the rocks miss by mere inches as the minions huddle together, safe for now. Another rock circles overhead, ready to join the attack on the intruders. A strong downdraft from its wings knocks Akihito to the ground. Olivia helps him up and asks if he's all right as he stammers about how big it is. Buchi yells to Akihito, urging him to fall back into the forest. The party scrambles to their feet and follows the minions to safety. They reach the woods, and Buchi says the large birds cannot follow them. From their hiding place, they can see all three rocks guarding their nest. Olivia grimly assesses the odds and admits she could only take on one opponent at most. Buchi agrees a frontal assault would be reckless and suggests they wait for an opening. Olivia's eyes light up, ready to fight one and claim some tasty meat. Buchi supports Akihito's idea to prioritize the eggs and considers a strategy. He points out that while the minions can hide, Akihito and Olivia are too big. Akihito shows his ace, a teleportation ability that can transport one other person. A flash of inspiration lights Buchi's eyes, revealing he has a plan. Gathering the party close, he whispers the first part of his bold plan. Three rocks shift restlessly in their nest on the hierarchy cliff. A bird ruffles its feathers, getting ready to leave. Low growls rise from the rocks, and then one of them takes flight. Now that one rock is gone, only two remain to guard the precious eggs. The remaining birds turn their heads toward a strange sound. Hidden minions toss oranges that roll near the nest to create a distraction. Rocks stare at the fruit, puzzled by the sudden arrival of food. Curiosity getting the better of them, they start pecking at the oranges. Hiding nearby, Buki and Tama whisper that their distraction is working perfectly. They keep tossing fruit to draw the giant birds away from the nest. Buchi signals that the rest is Akihito's now that the rocks are distracted. Akihito peeks out from behind a rock and spots his chance. He finds the prize, 2 huge, flawless white eggs lying in the nest. He edges forward as quietly as he can, feeling his heart pound in his chest. At the nest, his gloved hand hovers over one of the giant eggs. Determined, he grabs the egg and prepares to make his escape. He strains to lift it, surprised by its unexpectedly enormous weight. His face contorts with effort as he groans that it is incredibly heavy. Olivia rushes over and asks what is wrong as he struggles with the egg. She steps in, using her body enhancement skill to lift it. Their clumsy handoff causes a loud scrape that echoes across the cliff. One rock gives an angry shriek and snaps its head toward the sound. Horror crosses their faces as they realize their stealthy plan has completely failed. Akihito snatches his axe and braces to meet the charging monster. Olivia shouts a warning as a massive boulder barrels toward them. Akihito faces the threat with grim resolve. Shouting, he pushes Olivia behind him to shield her and tells her to get down. He is his friend's last defense against the behemoth. The rock's beak slams down, staggering Akihito and hurling him backward. Sheer pressure makes him tremble as he realizes the creature's overwhelming power. He can't believe one chipped talon caused such an impact. Olivia tells him they must make an opening if they hope to escape. The rocket strikes again, crashing down with terrifying speed and force. Dodging, Akihito shouts defiantly that he will not let it have the egg. His only goal is to make sure everyone comes back safely. Olivia looks at him, eyes wide and moved by his selfless courage. As the third rock starts to fly back, Boogie knows it's over. Calling out the second part of the plan, he tells them it's time to go home. Akihito hears Buchi and knows what he must do to save everyone. Calling to Olivia, he tells her to be ready on his signal. Olivia lets out a powerful cry and uses her Vance skill to hurl the egg at him. Catching it, he hears her shout that she has created the opening they needed. Akihito clutches the egg and uses movement magic to return to the campsite. A bright flash bursts out, blinding the 2 bewildered rocks. Back at camp, they reappear and fall into a dazed heap. Olivia looks up, spots their tent, and feels relieved that they made it. They hold hands and laugh, celebrating their narrow but successful escape. Akihito collapses, exhausted from the effort of the powerful spell. After apologizing to each other, they worried about the friends they had left behind. Olivia explains the rest of the plan. They will meet at the Minion village. They walk through the familiar, peaceful forest of giant spotted mushrooms. Confident the minions are safe, Olivia trusts their knowledge of the island. Akihito remembers Buchi's secret plan and trusts his clever friend. Approaching the village clearing, they find their friends waiting. Buchi and Tama rush forward, overjoyed to find Akihito and Olivia safe. Everyone in the village celebrates the hero's safe return and their prize. Smiling, Akihito asks Buchi about his incredible secret escape plan. Buchi puffs out his chest and says proudly that his plan was to run. The promise of ice cream gave them all the courage they needed, he explains. Akihito spends 5 points to summon a large spherical ice cream maker for the celebration. Buchi and Thomas stare at the strange device, unsure if it can really make ice cream. The minions eagerly mix the rock egg yolk, goat's milk, and sugar in a bowl. Akihito asked Olivia to use her magic to instantly cool the device's refrigerant pack. Smiling, Akihito explains the final step is to roll the ball. The minion children cheer and start playfully rolling the large sphere around. Olivia watches the heartwarming scene, completely captivated by the minions' charm. The minions gather expectantly, and Akihito announces the ice cream is almost ready. He produces a bowl of perfectly churned, creamy ice cream with a flourish. The minions dig in, their faces light up with pure bliss at the delicious flavor. Supporters cheer for Akihito and demand a statue be built in his honor, leaving him embarrassed. During the celebration, Olivia pulls him aside to thank him sincerely. Laughing, he says he was just frantically trying to make their turns safer. With genuine admiration, she insists he was incredibly cool. Akihito is flustered by her earnest compliment and can only stammer a quiet thank you. Olivia's mood shifts as she regrets failing to get any meat. Buchi overhears her and asks if she wants meat, and she eagerly agrees. He recommends a new hunting spot, the caves, which are full of delicious things. Olivia perks up at the suggestion and repeats the word caves, as if confirming. Buchi paints a picture of a wondrous place filled with rare creatures, glittering crystals, and delicious ingredients. Olivia notes that everyone seems to agree and turns her gaze to Akihito. Excited, Akihito points ahead and announces their next adventure will be a cave expedition. At the base of a rocky cliff, they find a dark cave entrance. Prepared for their next challenge, Akihito and Olivia approach the foreboding opening. Recognizing the place, Olivia confirms it is the cave Bucci described. Before the dark maw, she points to a strange totem and identifies it as the entrance marker. Bucci points out that the number carved on the totem's stomach looks like a 0. He explains the number shows the monster level, and a 0 means the area is safe. Bucci finds no powerful monsters lurking at the cave entrance. Akihito figures the meat must be deeper inside where tougher monsters live. With her warrior spirit ignited, Olivia vows to get the meat herself. Hesitating, she admits she will need a light to find her way in the dark. Akihito gently offers her a lantern, and she becomes flustered by the thoughtful gesture. Their hands meet briefly as he hands the lantern to her. In a panic, she pulls her hand back and apologizes for her odd reaction. Smiling shyly, she asks to carry the light. Akito offers a warm, reassuring grin and says that of course it is. Thanking him, she takes the lantern with a new confidence. Holding the light high, Olivia officially begins their expedition into the cave. Akihito watches her with a fawning smile as he thinks of her name. He chooses to support her, knowing she is doing her best despite her phobia. Stepping into the gloom, they agree to move slowly and with great caution. Farther in, they walk through a vast cavern. The ceiling is dotted with strange glowing lights. Bucci points to another totem marked with a 1, indicating a more dangerous area. Akihito says the path looks clear for now as Olivia watches nervously. A strange, ghostly light flashes past Akihito, catching him off guard. The light turns out to be a vast swarm of large, moth-like insects. Akihito grimaces as they realize they are surrounded by a terrifying number of bugs. Flailing his arms, he is completely overwhelmed and cannot drive the swarm away. Olivia calls his name and asks if he is okay amid the chaotic cloud of insects. Bugs drawn to the light start converging on the lantern she holds. Olivia shouts a warning when she sees the swarm is dimming their only light. Shouting Vance furiously, she unleashes a powerful swirling gust of wind. The blast instantly scatters the swarm, sending the insects flying. A powerful strike from her cleared the air, leaving a pile of defeated insects on the ground. Afterward, Akihito notices a cluster of pale growths on the wall and recognizes them as mushrooms. His expertise confirms these are edible cave mushrooms, a rare and delicious find. Tama remembers excitedly that Bucci said they could trade these mushrooms for bacon. Akihito pictures a savory meal of sautéed bacon and mushrooms as they collect their prize. Olivia then notices something else hidden in a dark crevice. She calls to Akihito, saying there may be another edible nearby. As they draw closer, Akihito peers into the darkness, trying to identify the strange plant. Olivia notices a strange plant growing in the dark as Akihito moves in to examine it. Suddenly, the ground in front of them erupts in a monstrous roar. Akihito yells for Olivia as a monster bursts from the ground. His eyes widen as he takes in the creature's full, terrifying form. A towering armored centipede looms over him, and he can only whisper how huge it is. As the creature lunges, Akihito instinctively raises his axe to defend himself. The monster's sharp, powerful mandibles click threateningly just above his head. Nervously, Akihito identifies the creature as a centipede, and Olivia is visibly disgusted. The centipede charges forward with a guttural roar, its mouth wide open. A powerful strike from the monster sends their precious lantern tumbling through the air. Horror widens Olivia's eyes as she watches their only light source tumble away. The lantern slams into the far wall, shattering and throwing them into darkness. Instinctively, Akihito shoves Olivia behind him and shouts for her to get down. Standing his ground, he holds his axe ready to face the monstrous threat alone. The creature clamps its mandibles around his axe, and he strains against its crushing force. With his teeth clenched and muscles burning, the beast's raw force drives him back. He must avoid its poisonous legs because a single touch can be fatal. The monster snarls with its face inches from his as it tries to crush him. In the darkness behind him, Olivia cries his name in terror. Letting out one last desperate roar, Akihito pushes back with everything he has. A powerful counterattack breaks one of the creature's massive mandibles. Riding his momentum, he prepares to deliver a final, decisive blow. Dark ichor spurts from the creature's wound as it reels back in pain and shock. Akihito leaps into the air and brings his axe down in a powerful overhead swing. The blade strikes with a sickening thud and sinks deep into the monster's head. Standing over the fallen beast, he pants from the effort of the battle. Looking back at Olivia, he asks in disbelief if he really defeated it. Olivia blushes with awe and relief and confirms that he appears to have. Praising his amazing feat, she makes him laugh, relieved he somehow pulled it off. Standing over the corpse, his unique skill emits a notification sound. A pop-up identifies the creature as a Marvel giant centipede that is edible only under certain conditions. The skill also notes that when boiled, it takes on the texture and delicious taste of lobster. Akito's face twists into a mask of pure, unadulterated shock and horror. Seeing his odd expression, Olivia asks what is wrong, worried he might be hurt. Turning to her with a forced smile, he says the centipede is apparently delicious. Olivia stares at him, horror in her eyes, unable to take in his words. He immediately backpedals, waving his hands frantically and saying he was only kidding. Muttering to himself, he says it would take real courage to eat something so grotesque. After getting past the disgusting centipede, Akihito and Olivia laugh and agree to forget it. Akihito's hand suddenly slips as he reaches for the lantern. Olivia watches from the side as the lantern clatters through the air. When sudden darkness comes, they realize their only light has gone out. Olivia screams in terror as she collapses, crying out into the darkness. Akihito calls out her name, stunned by her intense reaction. Kneeling, her whole body trembles with overwhelming fear. Immediately, he reaches for her to offer comfort and reassurance. As he holds her, he understands how serious her phobia is and promises to stay by her side. Trembling, Olivia whispers a choked apology for her weakness. Pulling her close, he tells her not to apologize while he worries about finding a new light. Akihito knows he must get her out of the cave because they are too vulnerable in the dark. His jaw tightens with resolve, ready to protect her no matter what. Peering into the darkness, he sees a faint, mysterious light deeper in the cave. He asks if she can walk, but she only shakes her head, too scared to move. With no other option, he prepares to lift her off the ground. Apologizing for the familiarity, he gently lifts her into his arms. He carries her into a magnificent grotto whose walls glitter with a magical light. Both are stunned to find the source, countless massive magic stones. Gently, he sets her down and suggests they rest for a while in the soft glow. Overwhelmed and flustered, Olivia manages only a quiet, blushing agreement. Gently, he tells her to be careful as she steadies herself after apologizing again. He holds her hand firmly, offering a reassuring sign of support. Smiling warmly, he tells her that her safety comes first. Olivia looks at him, her face soft and quietly grateful. Grateful, she clutches his hand and thanks him, deeply moved by his constant kindness. A light-hearted exchange briefly eases the tension. Akito lifts a crystal and admires the strange beauty of the magic stones. Olivia explains the minions trade these, saying one this large must be valuable. Cheerfully, he offers her the stones, but she insists he was the one who found them. He says he doesn't need them, and asks her to take them as a souvenir. Flustered, she admits her family is wealthy and doesn't need anything more. She teases him playfully, and he replies that his true prize is the mushrooms he found. Olivia gives a soft, genuine laugh and her tense posture finally relaxes. Akihito smiles, relieved and glad to see her spirit coming back. He realizes her earlier terror must come from deep trauma. The sight of usually cheerful Olivia looking so afraid troubles him. He realizes there is a painful cause behind her severe phobia. Olivia meets his gaze, her face serious as she says his name. His actions have always put her best interests first. She decides she can trust him and that it might be okay to share her story. Repeating his name, she gets his full attention before she begins. Her voice steady with resolve. She asked him to listen to a story about her past. Akihito meets her gaze, his expression serious as he prepares to listen. In the glowing cavern, they sit together while she prepares to explain it all. Sparkling crystals in the cavern provide a calm backdrop to her difficult story. They sit together in the vast grotto, sharing a quiet, intimate moment amid the grandeur. Akihito remembers wanting to understand her past, but now feels uneasy. Olivia knows he must be curious why she is so terrified of the dark. He listens, even though the story is painful for her to tell. Seeing her resolve, he says he really wants to know and understand. Moved by his kindness, Olivia smiles gratefully. The story starts by taking them back to events a year earlier. A flashback shows her as a respected holy knight and platoon commander. Her cape bears the ornate insignia of her noble house. Adoring subordinates eagerly invite her to join them for a meal. Two jealous nobles barge in and falsely claim she already has plans with them. Loyal soldiers glare at the two nobles, protecting their commander. Nobles gossip bitterly about her, resenting her high birth and rank. One of them whispers a rumor he'd heard about the Half-Paiman family. He says her family failed in business and is now heavily in debt. Cut to her father, the Marquis, looking weary and stressed. The Marquis's imposing presence instantly silences the gossiping nobles. Standing alone, he reads a letter with a pained, worried expression. His family's troubles show clearly on his face. Approaching Olivia, he holds a formal letter from the Marquisette. Olivia reads the letter, her face registering shock and disbelief. Noticing her reaction, her father asks what's wrong. He delivers the devastating news that their trade ships have sunk again. He admits he took out a massive loan to make up for their losses. Then he offers the solution, a marriage proposal from the Prince of Nissel. Olivia says calmly that if she marries the prince, he will pay off their debts. Tears of relief run down her father's face, and she gently tells him not to worry. Eyes closed, she accepts her duty as a daughter of House Half-Paimon. A soldier bursts in, cutting them off with a breathless, urgent message. He says zombies are pouring out of the cemetery and nodding at him. Over 300 undead have been counted, and the horde keeps growing. Olivia remembers the orphanage in Nottingham, and the children she used to play with there. Resolute, she orders her platoon to prepare for battle. Leading the charge on horseback, she and her 72 soldiers face an army of the dead. A brutal, chaotic battle against the undead horde begins. She sees the full scale of the threat, with more than 300 zombies ahead. A soldier suggests waiting for reinforcements, but she insists there is no time. She vows to stop the horde here and rescue anyone who might be trapped inside. Glenn, her second-in-command, is assigned to lead the defensive line. Mounted on a white steed, she lifts her spear and prepares her ultimate holy technique. She releases a massive wave of divine energy that destroys the zombies. Soldiers cheer her name, awed by her strength as they search for survivors. With the path cleared, she and her soldiers rush into the church. Bursting through the main doors, they called out and found only an eerie silence. Scanning the dark, empty church, she looks for survivors hiding anywhere. Glenn, her trusted second-in-command, watches with a worried expression. She urges him to stay calm and strong no matter what they find. With a confident smile, she reassures him, reminding him that she is a holy knight. A soldier discovers a side door locked from the inside. Olivia calls out, identifies her platoon, and offers aid to anyone nearby. No one answers, so she decides they have to break the door down. A powerful kick smashes the wooden door, sending splinters flying. Her soldiers rush into the dark room, holding their lanterns high. Inside, they find a group of huddled children, exactly what they were looking for. In a memory, Olivia kneels in armor, relieved that a young girl is safe. The girl calls her older sister Olivia to ask if she remembers playing together. A monstrous grin spreads across her face as she keeps calling, "Big sis." "Now a zombie!" the child snarls with a low guttural sound from her throat. Olivia throws herself forward to block the lunging zombie, shouting a warning. Terror fills her wide eyes as the horrific scene unfolds. A memory contrasts the sweet, smiling child with her twisted, undead form. Olivia reaches out in despair as the innocent girl's memory fades. A soldier prepares to strike the zombie child, treating it like nothing more than an object. Olivia shouts at him to stop, insisting he must not harm the child. The subordinate turns back, confused by Commander Olivia's order. He calls out a warning as 2 zombie nuns ambush him from behind. Soldier Buffett is bitten and cries out as Olivia watches in shock. Blood splatters her face as she screams for it to stop. Darkness swallows the world as chaos and fear fill the air. She describes losing her platoon and failing to save the children, which forced her to resign. Her father urges her to put the past behind her and accept the Prince of Nissel's proposal. The handsome prince enters, greets Olivia, and says he has been waiting for her. He promises his kingdom's wealth will provide for her family and give her this happiness. Olivia stares blankly, wondering what this so-called happiness really means. She sees accepting as an honor and feels she must do it. She tells a listening Akihito how the trauma left her crippled by fear of the dark. Finishing her story, she admits her immaturity caused the tragedy. Akihito thanks her for sharing, but doubts her engagement to the prince. With a pained look, she admits that this is her embarrassing situation. Gazing at her, he asks if this is what she truly wants. He insists that being offered as a human sacrifice for her family is simply wrong. Though he calls the prince a villain, she defends him as a kind man. Tearfully, she demands to know why Akihito is treating her so cruelly. Her sharp retort makes him flinch as he realizes he has gone too far. He apologizes for getting so upset about her family's decision driven by debt. Sighing, she explains that noble marriages work this way and asks him not to worry. Her eyes widen as she starts to speak, but she hesitates. Passionately, he says he hates seeing her unhappy and wants her suffering to end. Moved by his words, she turns away, her face flushed with emotion. She clenches her fist and thanks him, but says she cannot betray her parents. Akihito's expression softens as he realizes he can't push her any further. He promises not to bring it up again, just glad she confided in him. Olivia suddenly shifts her demeanor and brags that she's fine and still has her strength. She strikes a comic pose and says she'll fight if things get out of hand, leaving Akihito confused. A warm, relieved laugh escaped him as he realized she was trying to lighten the mood. Her bright laughter joins in, filling the glowing cavern. Akihito's smile drops as an unspoken thought comes to mind. He wants to ask her to stay on the island with him. Olivia notices his silence and asks if something is wrong. Brushing it off, he suggests they collect more of the valuable magic stones. Her eyes light up at the idea. If money is the issue, they can take care of it. She agrees eagerly, and they pack up what they can carry. Bucci the Catman arrives, pleased to have received a bag for their haul. Olivia is refreshed and ready to collect souvenirs and even hunt for meat. As they leave, Akihito thinks about Olivia's incredible string. A heavy scraping echoes from the dark mouth of the cave. A dark shadow looms in the tunnel, a new threat closing in on them. A dark, monstrous shape appears to fill the entire passage. As they step into the light, Olivia says she has found them. A woman proudly holds a large sack of plump, pristine cave mushrooms. Akihito smiles, relieved the cave monster never showed up. Holding the mushrooms, Olivia comments on their strong fragrance. Joking with her, he makes her panic because she thinks he's commenting on her smell. Laughing, he says they should leave the mushrooms outside and find somewhere to cook. Hiding in the shadows, an observer notices they also have magic stones. A sharp noise from inside the cave makes them both jump. A heavy thud echoes, announcing the arrival of something large. A massive saber board charges forward, its eyes glowing with malice. Both cry out in shock when the massive beast appears. The boar plants its feet, its powerful body poised to charge. Olivia pushes Akihito aside and says she will handle the monster. Her eyes light up with power as she activates her body enhancement skill. With a blur of motion, she draws her sword to meet the charge. The boar's eyes narrow as it charges toward her at incredible speed. Steel rings against tusk as she blocks the attack. The sword shatters into pieces under the creature's immense power. Akihito freezes in disbelief, realizing Olivia has been completely overpowered. The blow's force sends her stumbling backward across the ground. Keeping her footing against the boar's relentless assault is difficult. He calls her name as the creature's brute force pushes her backward. The boar's incredible speed and the hardness of its tusks catch her attention. Akihito watches in horror as he realizes their situation is dire. He realizes Olivia's power doesn't work against this enemy. Desperation sparks an idea and he realizes he can use his movement magic to escape. Concentrating, he plans to teleport them straight back to camp. Magic starts to form, then fizzles out. Both watch, confused and alarmed by the spell's failure. Panic jolts him as he realizes his magic is gone. Olivia shouts for him to run as the board charges again, confident it will win. Akihito shoves her back, raises his axe and shouts that he must do something. He strains against the boar's strength and groans that the beast is too powerful. Unable to push it back, he yells for Olivia to save herself. Crying out in despair, she refuses to abandon him. Both stand frozen in a moment of pure terror. Akihito begs her to run, knowing he cannot hold on, yet she screams his name. A new voice suddenly commands them to close their eyes and mouths. They recognize the voice, they obey, and squeeze their eyes shut in confusion. A massive explosion erupts in a blinding flash and sends up a cloud of smoke. Bushi emerges from the haze and urges them to move now. Two minions grab their stunned friends and pull them to safety. Bucci tells them to climb a high rocky ledge to buy them some time. He salutes proudly and says he had a bad feeling, so he came to check on them. Rubbing his eyes that sting from the blast, Akihito thanks them. Bucci pulls out his secret weapon, a minion special pepper bomb, as the boar sneezes. High on a cavern ledge, Bucci says they need an escape plan. Alarmed, Akihito discovers his teleportation magic has stopped working. Apologizing, Bucci explains the magic stones are interfering with his skills. A deafening crash reverberates as the ground beneath them shakes violently. The enraged boar rams the rock wall, trying to bring down its perch. Bucci explains the boar's tactic, and Akihito realizes how precarious their situation is. Powerful repeated impacts throw the party off balance. Akihito decides they must find a weak spot, and Boogie suggests setting a trap. Akihito feels a spark of inspiration as he remembers his unique skills. Using his pro of preparation skill, he analyzes the beast for a weakness. "I found it," he says, after spotting the monster's weak spot. Olivia watches, hope returning to her face. Confidently, she tells Akihito that if all they need is an opening, he can leave it to her. Akihito watches the brave holy knight prepare for battle. Olivia bravely leaps down to face the charging boar. Facing the monster's ferocious charge, she answers with her own formidable power. The impact sends sparks and rock flying in all directions. The saber boar staggers, sent backward by her unexpected strength. A powerful shockwave from their collision reverberates through the cavern. A massive blast brings their direct confrontation to its climax. Buchi cheers as Akihito lowers Olivia on a rope and explains the sparking magic stones. Minions call to Olivia and bravely serve as bait for the boar. Relying on Olivia's strength, Buchi entrusts the plan to her and she accepts readily. The massive boar shakes its head as it recovers from the stunning blow. It snorts angrily, steam rising from its nostrils as it gets ready to charge again. Buchi warns as the enraged beast thunders toward their trap. Olivia pulls the tripwire taut, unleashing her Vance skill as Toma cries. A boar barrels forward, its hooves catching the rope with a loud snap. Triumphant, Toma cheers as the trap springs, briefly stunning the beast. The minions shout to Akihito that the rest is his to handle. Akihito lunges forward with his skinning knife as the monster becomes vulnerable. Calling out loudly, he activates his ultimate support skill, Pro of Preparation. Charging at the recovering beast, he is completely focused. A sudden turn of events leaves the dazed saber boar looking up, puzzled. Akihito slips straight beneath a massive creature. His skill shows the boar can be eaten, but its tough tusk must be removed first. Thrilled at the idea of meat, Olivia and the minions eagerly offer to help. Defeated, the saber boar lies on the ground, dazed and off balance. At the campsite, Akihito tends a warm, crackling fire. Everyone at the party devours boar skewers, calling them delicious. Olivia calls the meal heavenly, and Akito agrees without reservation. Buchi smiles, enjoying the simple pleasure of a good meal with friends. Akihito thinks about how wonderful it is to eat with everyone and feels grateful for their friendship. He thanks everyone for their help, and the minions thank him in return. Olivia meets Akihito's gaze, her expression soft as she says his name thoughtfully. Buchi proudly says he only did what was right, but Toma calls him a show-off. Buchi says Akihito is a warrior who always looks out for his friends. Moved by being called companions, Akihito gives them a warm, grateful smile. Laughing, he tells them to stop the awkward conversation and just eat more meat. He recalls the magic stones and sees that many were broken during the fight. Holding up a handful of intact crystals, Olivia beams that they have more than enough. She expresses her deep gratitude to him and to their irreplaceable companions. Smiling, Akihito agrees they should return to the cave to gather more sometime. Buchi steps in to help, joking that Akihito would be helpless without him. Tama insists on coming along because she doesn't want Buchi to have all the fun. Relieved, Akihito laughs because Tom is there to keep Buchi in line. Olivia presses a hand to her mouth to stifle a giggle at the minions' playful bickering. Akihito checks on Olivia and she smiles, saying she's just getting some water. Relaxing, they become alert at a sudden rustle in the bushes. Behind a tree, a new figure watches them and says, "I've found you." A wolf-like samurai appears and singles out Olivia as his target. He notices her distinctive, swirling twin-tail hairstyle. Hand on his sword, he declares her his master's enemy. Back at camp, the celebration goes on peacefully. Bolivia pours a refreshing drink into a bowl. Calmly, she sips from the bowl, eyes closed in contentment. A soft, satisfied sigh escapes her. She calls Akihito's name as he grills skewers over the campfire. Tama, looking utterly blissful, asked eagerly for seconds. Akihito playfully tells Tama not to eat too much, but the minion insists he's fine. Tama says the meat tastes even better when everyone works together. Akihito agrees to get Buchi another skewer. Hidden in the shadows, the samurai is sure the minions are being deceived by a demon. Akito offers Olivia another skewer, and she declines politely. The samurai burst from the trees, vowing to punish the demon he had seen. Akihito and the minions are stunned by the sudden intrusion. Leaping into the air, the samurai challenges them to fight immediately. Akihito calls out Olivia's name and sounds the alarm as the warrior descends. He throws himself in front of Olivia and blocks the samurai's katana with a frying pan, steel striking iron rings with a loud clang. Olivia thanks Akihito for protecting her and asks if he is all right. Turning to the samurai, she is furious that he dared to attack Akihito. A powerful cry unleashes her Vance skill, sending the samurai flying. Thrown back, the wolf warrior lands gracefully on his feet. Her incredible power leaves him completely stunned. Aggression melts into infatuation as his eyes fill with hearts. Despite the minion's efforts to stop him, he insists she is a fearsome demon in disguise. Despite their explanation, the samurai refuses to accept that humans are anything other than demons. Akihito hopes the samurai who knows Tama can reason with him. The samurai scoffs at Akihito's frying pan and ignores anything he says. Growling, he declares that demons who prey on people are his master's enemy. When he lunges, Akihito shoves a meat skewer into his mouth to silence him. The samurai falls silent, stunned by the incredible taste and texture. Olivia approaches calmly and suggests they share a meal and sort things out peacefully. The samurai is overwhelmed by the rich flavor of the meat juices. He admires the wisdom of such a strong, beautiful woman. Bowing deeply in apology, he introduces himself as Juan Yudo Noiharu Kimie. Akihito says Kimi heard rumors about a flesh-eating demon in the forest. Buchi and Thomas sigh and remark on Kimi's short temper and troublesome ways. Kimi grumbles that he was only trying to live in peace with the minions. Kimi admits with remorse that he made a grave mistake and nearly killed an innocent man. Dramatically, he offers to commit seppuku until Olivia calms down. To make peace, Akihito quietly offers a skewer of freshly grilled meat. Olivia beams as she asks Kimi if the food he's eating tastes good. Clearly delighted, Kimie says Olivia's skewers are the best. Olivia beams and credits Akihito for all the cooking. Exchanging modest compliments, they each acknowledge how much the other has helped. Kimi listens, quietly wishing he could learn to cook for Olivia too. Olivia praising Kimi's blade skills only makes him more agitated. Jealousy explodes as he berates Akihito for his poor swordsmanship. Driven by rivalry, Kimi challenges a cautious Akihito to another duel. Akito refuses the pointless fight and criticizes Kimi's excessive aggression. Tama rushes to calm the two men as Olivia begins to look unwell. The small cat notices her distress first and asks what is wrong. Weakly, Olivia insists that everything is fine as she begins to collapse. As she faints, Akihito catches her and Kimi cries out in alarm. Holding her limp body, he shouts her name while the minions stand in shock. In the tent, Tama keeps a quiet, solemn watch over the unconscious Olivia. They quickly fill a pot with water to help lower her fever. Akihito carefully brings the pot of cool water back toward the tent. Returning, he finds Tama, who tells him seriously that Olivia has a high fever. Kimi demands answers urgently, but Tama insists he stay calm and quiet. A close-up reveals Olivia's face beaded with sweat from her raging fever. Akihito watches over her, his face filled with deep worry. Tama thinks her illness is due to exhaustion and asks them to cool her down. Akihito brings water, and Tama puts a cool, damp cloth on her forehead. He discovers his immunity skill cannot help her in this new world. A sudden idea hits him, and he gently rests his hand on her head. Desperately, he casts his basic recovery magic, hoping it will be enough. Magic flows, and a single tear runs down her fevered cheek. She opens her eyes and weakly says his name as he leans over her. After he apologizes for not noticing sooner, she reassures him that she feels better. Trying to reassure him, she tells him not to worry as her eyes close. A violent coughing fit cuts her words short and alarms everyone. Dread fills him as he realizes his magic is far too weak to cure her. When Kimi asks about medicine, Tama doubts their remedies will help. Thomas suddenly remembers a legend about an ingredient for a panacea at the bottom of the lake. Seizing this new hope, Akihito demands to know where the lake is. Buchi warns them the location is deep and dangerous, a place the minions avoid. Undeterred, Akihito vows to get the vital ingredient himself. Kimi watches Akihito, his face stern and unreadable. The samurai objects and insists he should be the one to face the danger. Akihito insists he'll be fine, confident his unique skills will keep him safe. He says his main motivation is his deep need to save Olivia. Guilt drives him, and he is determined not to have any more regrets about her safety. He insists he will go despite any danger. The minions are clearly moved by his firm resolve to save their friend. Kimi seems to relent, but his expression stays stern and conflicted. By the foreboding lake, Kimi turns a desperate rescue into a competition. Two rivals stand at the water's edge with intense energy between them. Akihito doubts the contest is necessary, and Kimi challenges his confidence. Akihito calmly says his sole motivation is to save Olivia. Kimi says he is serious as well and regards Olivia as his kind benefactor. He says Akihito is too weak to be trusted or to protect her. Facing the final challenge, Kimi dives into the water to start the race. Confidently, he shouts that he will win easily as he swims away from shore. Akihito steels himself and remembers this is not a game. He steps into the cold, dark water of the mysterious lake for the first time. Shouting to save Olivia, he dives headfirst into the depths. Kimi dives deeper, searching for the distinctively colored medicinal plant. Akihito powers through the water, his face fixed in pure determination. An unseen force from the darkness below seizes Kimi. A large hand clutches his leg, stopping him dead in the murky water. He has been yanked down violently, disappearing completely beneath the surface. Kimi and his unseen attacker rise to the surface, coughing and gasping for air. Akihito asks if he cannot swim, and Kimi explains someone pulled him up from below. Akihito asked what had grabbed him, while Kimi describes it as a powerful current. A strange glint on this water's surface draws Akihito's attention. Kimi's face goes grim as he senses a growing, unseen danger. Kimi warns Akihito about a dangerous presence just under the surface. Bubbles rise as the creature moves along the bottom of the deep lake. Peering into the depths, Akihito confirms something is down there. They both stare down, wondering what creature is hiding below. Kimi tells Akihito to give up and says he will dive in alone again. Akihito protests as a watery tendril shoots out and wraps around his ankle. The liquid tendril constricts, squeezing his leg with impossible force. Akihito disappears beneath the surface with a splash, leaving Kimi shocked. Kimi calls out his rival's name, his face showing genuine alarm. Underwater, Akihito feels a jolt and realizes something has grabbed him. A powerful, unseen current drags him helplessly through the water. Two enormous, monstrous fish surge up and churn the water into a terrifying whirlpool. Horror hits him as he realizes he is facing two monsters. The whirlpool spins the water, dragging everything toward its center. A monster opens its huge jaw and tries to suck him in. Its jaws snap shut like a strong pincer, barely missing him. He barely avoids the attack, relief showing in a strained expression. Something glowing in the dark water suddenly draws his gaze. He spots the glowing medicinal plant resting on the lake bed. This must be the very ingredient they came here to find, he realizes. The tendril yanks him off course, dragging him back violently. Pinned by the monster's whiskers, he knows he must cut himself free. His air supply is running out fast and deep panic sets in. Water resistance makes moving slow and painfully difficult for him. Strength leaves him, and he feels himself give in to the inevitable. Kimi's sword flashes, severs the whisker, and saves his life. Kimi races through the water to save his rival from drowning. The samurai seizes him and pulls him quickly up toward the surface. Hands slap the rocky shore as they finally pull themselves out of the water. Exhausted and battered, they both collapse to the ground, gasping for breath. Akihito thanks him, and Kimi brushes it off, hiding his worry. Kimi coughs hard and spits up lake water while Akihito watches with concern. Blushing, the samurai wolf turns away and says his debt has now been repaid. Moved by his rival's honorable gesture, Akihito stares and calls his name. Akihito, overcome with emotion, thanks him profusely, but Kimi gruffly shoves him away. Kimi vows he will not fall for the same trap again and is ready to go on alone. Stunned, Akihito questions Kimi's reckless plan to face two monsters alone. Kimi vows to succeed for Olivia, while Akihito insists on having a clear plan. Realizing the water is a major disadvantage, Akihito asks for a moment to think. Kimi shouts, "There is no time," as Akihito frantically searches his memory for a possible skill. Finding the underwater walking skill, he declares it is their only hope. Determined, he learns the skill and suggests they fight together. The samurai wolf is taken aback by Akihito's sudden offer to work together. After gaining a new skill, Akihito decides to share its power with his rival. They can now breathe underwater for 4 minutes, he explains, but Kimi doubts it. Akihito implores them to pool their strengths for Olivia's sake. Kimi studies the desperate plea, his proud demeanor showing a bead of sweat. Determined not to drown again, Kimi holds his sword in his mouth and dives. The two rivals dive back into the dark, monster-filled waters. Akihito, submerged, is amazed to discover he can breathe easily. Amazed by how smoothly Kimi moves, he calls to his new partner. Two monstrous fish loom ahead and Akihito warns they're here. The grotesque anglerfish monster lets out a soundless roar and charges at them. Kimi bravely steps in front of the beast and says he will be its opponent. The second monster, a giant catfish, lashes Akihito with its long whiskers. Akihito cries out as the powerful monster sends Kimi flying. The giant catfish monster turns its full attention to Akihito and charges forward. Cutting the whiskers with his knife, he finds they grow back almost immediately. He spots the glowing medicinal plant on the lake bed, close in sight but still out of reach. Kimiya tells Akihito to grab the plant while he creates a much-needed distraction. Time is running out for Akihito and only a few minutes remain. Frustration mounts as the monsters keep regrowing their whiskers. A brilliant idea comes to him as he recalls his unique skill in preparation. The monster's whisker suddenly wraps around Kimia, and Akihito shouts his name in alarm. Kimi struggles with his trapped wrist while Akihito promises he is on his way to help. Akihito has a sudden insight and realizes he must tangle the whiskers rather than cut them. Urging Kimi to hang on a little longer, he moves in on the beast. Determined, Akihito grabs the monster's powerful, slimy whisker. Kimi is dragged helplessly toward the creature's gaping mouth full of teeth. A powerful vortex forms around the monster, trying to pull the struggling samurai warrior in. Caught in the swirling water, Kimi desperately hopes he can get out in time. Akihito fights the current, determined to reach Kimi in time. The creature opens its mouth wide, ready to deliver the final fatal bite. Akihito uses his preparation skill to tie the monster's whiskers into a perfect bow. The monster lets go and Kimi is suddenly free. Released from the whisker, Kimi tumbles helplessly through the dark water. With his job done, Akihito fights with all his strength to swim back to the surface. Exhausted, they lie on the shore, gasping for air after somehow surviving the ordeal. They lie on the rocky ground, amazed they made it out alive. Clutching the cure, he knows he must get it to Olivia as fast as he can. Back at the camp, the tent stands silent among the tall, dark trees. Inside, workers carefully grind the precious medicinal herbs into a fine paste. Lying back, Olivia gives a soft moan as her consciousness starts to come back. The beast cheers, relieved to see she is awake and the medicine worked. Kimi asks Olivia if she is okay, his voice anxious and full of concern. Still weak, Olivia looks up and thanks them sincerely for their help. Scanning the room, her gaze finally landed on Akihito, and she called his name. Akihito rushes to her side, his face showing pure, unadulterated relief. They both beam with happiness that the medicine worked. She gives him a warm, reassuring smile and says she feels fine now. He tells her not to go to rest, and she happily agrees to his request. Kimi watches their tender moment, his face thoughtful and serious. Seeing her smile of pure relief, he recognizes the deep trust she has in Akihito. Akihito praises Kimi, saying he looked cool facing the monster with his sword. Olivia says she couldn't have managed on her own and expresses her heartfelt thanks. Flustered, Kimi tries to give the credit back, saying Akihito defeated the monster. Akihito smiles as a quiet understanding settles between the two rivals. Still flustered by the praise and the camaraderie, Kimi grumbles to himself. Kimi vows never to forget his face while Akihito apologizes with a laugh. Buchi and Tama tease Kimi about being unreliable, which shocks Akihito. Kimi reluctantly admits Akihito was helpful, but he will not say it out loud. The samurai's reluctant praise moves Akihito, a faint blush coloring his cheeks. Their friends playfully surrounded and teased them, urging the two rivals to finally get along. Their quiet campsite comes into view, a simple tent tucked in the woods. Akihito looks at the bowl of fruit and thinks Olivia could eat it. The minions thank him for sharing and say the vitamins will help her. Akihito knows she must recover, but food alone will not secure her future. Remembering the storm, he realizes life in a tent is too unsafe and unstable. Determined, he will do everything he can to make sure she leaves the island healthy. Noticing his sudden seriousness, the minions ask him what's on his mind. Turning away from them for a moment, he settles on his new plan. Spinning around, bowl in hand, he announces his plan to upgrade the tent. In another scene, a cat girl wearing glasses gives a confident thumbs up. Two young boys eagerly praise their cool older brother Hirataka. With a smirk, Hirataka promises to show them the true heights of adventure. Akihito believes that if he can improve their living environment, it will help. Watching Olivia rest, he knows she needs a better home. Determined, he is ready to build a home to protect against any threat. His friends look stunned and start sweating at his sudden, intense declaration. Pointing at a large pile of logs, he says he will use the wood Olivia gathered. Amazed, the minions ask if he can actually build a disaster-proof house. A pile of wood sits before him as he quietly considers the huge task ahead. Doubting his skills, he faces the minions' skepticism about his ambitious plan. Realizing he needs help, he opens his status screen to consult a professional. The camera sweeps over the island's lush, dense forest canopy. A sweet-looking female minion steps forward and offers her help to the savior. Instantly charmed by her cuteness, Akihito smiles while Kimi looks on, unimpressed. Tama interrupts and corrects him, saying this is the real Marin. Marin's face darkens as a menacing aura begins to radiate from her. She becomes a strict foreman, directing everyone to build the best house. Tama explains her personality change, leaving Akihito speechless and confused. Akihito cheerfully offers to help Kimi by suggesting they haul lumber together. Kimi stumbles while carrying a heavy log, and Akihito voices his concern. The samurai insists he can manage alone, while Akihito warns he might fall. Annoyed, Kimi snaps at Akihito for his clumsiness and tells him to be more careful. Pushing Akihito aside, he tells him to stay back if he's going to be useless. A tense silence hangs between them as Akihito assumes Kimi is angry with him. Kimi fumes to himself, upset that he can't help Lady Olivia more. Today, Akihito suddenly realizes he can use his special point roulette. He activates the roulette and hits a huge 32-point jackpot, bringing his total to 39. Leveling up also unlocked powerful new sub-skills for his tent-building ability. A new gold tier appears in his food gacha, perfect for a celebration. Kimi gives him a deadpan look, finding his excited muttering creepy. Akihito eagerly explains his plan to fetch delicious food to celebrate Olivia's recovery. He tells himself he only wants her to get better and be happy. Kimi listens to him with a serious, unreadable look on his face. The samurai asks Akihito if he plans to live on the island with Olivia. Akihito says sadly that Olivia will return home, and they cannot live together. Kimi angrily demanded to know why he wouldn't go with her, but Akihito says her situation is complicated. Surprisingly concerned, Kimi asks whether Akihito is really okay with this. Akihito admits he feels lonely, but Olivia's happiness matters most to him. Determined, he sets out to make as many happy memories for her as possible right now. His sincere words leave Kimi flustered and speechless. The samurai mutters that he doesn't understand humans, leaving Akihito confused. From the woods, Buki's voice calls urgently to Akihito. Buchi rushes over, saying Marin is in trouble and needs his help right away. Their simple tent sits at the edge of the forest. Marin, a minion architect, is worried they do not have enough lumber for the house. Akihito realizes the project will take much longer because the building is so large. To speed up assembly, the Mayans offer to add more workers. A mignon struggles to hammer in a large post while others hold it steady. Watching them work, Akihito suddenly gets an idea. Remembering the pile driver subskill, he decides to use it. He asked a minion to let him take control with a heavy wooden mallet. Gripping the mallet, he prepares to unleash the power of his new skill. Using his skill and body enhancements, he drives the mallet down with incredible force. A single blow drives the post deep into the ground, stunning the minions. Akihito says triumphantly he can now finish the work instantly and is glad to be useful. Dominion cheered, excited that the work will now move much faster. Reluctantly, Kimi watches and admits that such a feat is expected from his rival. Akihito calls to Kimi and asks for a favor only a samurai can fulfill. Reluctantly, Kimi huffs and agrees as a nearby Maon smiles knowingly. Akihito stands before a large tree, axe in hand, ready to tackle the lumber shortage. With practiced strength, he swings his axe. Thanks to his camping skills, his tree-felling technique has clearly improved. The massive tree groans and topples with a loud crack. Akihito asked Kimi for help, and the samurai accepted the challenge with determination. Kimi draws his katana and strikes in a blur of impossibly fast slashes. A second massive tree crashes to the ground, cut down by the samurai's expert swordsmanship. The minions are impressed by their flawless teamwork, but Kimi dismisses the praise. A hammer-wielding minion feels their fighting spirit ignite. Marin rallies the team, urging them to build the whole house at once. Minion Village comes alive with everyone working together in a busy, cheerful construction scene. During a break, Akihito shares a meal with his cheerful, hard-working new friends. The scene shifts to a calm, star-filled night in the dark forest. Inside the tent, a figure wakes slowly from a long, deep sleep. They stretch their arms and finally wake up after days of recovery. Olivia sits up, trying to figure out exactly how long she has been asleep. Vague, dreamlike memories remain of Akihito and Tama caring for her. Sensing a commotion, she opens the tent flap to see what is going on. Before her stands a finished log cabin and cheering minions. Olivia stares in disbelief, unable to make sense of what she is seeing. Toma rushes to her side, smiling and asking whether she is awake and feeling all right. The minions gather and tell her they built a safe house for her to rest. They tell her cheerfully that building the house was entirely Akihito's idea. Tears fill Olivia's eyes as she realizes this incredible gift was built just for her. Her emotional moment is interrupted when she spots something very strange. She notices two odd, roughly carved wooden statues that depict her and Akihito as saviors. The minions insist the statues are absolutely essential and very important. Akihito hurries over, relieved and pleased to see Olivia finally awake. He gently tells her not to overdo things while she's still recovering. Olivia, tears in her eyes, says she does not know how to thank him for the house. Smiling warmly, he tells her not to worry and to focus on resting. He quickly reassures her that the house has 2 separate rooms for their privacy. Akihito suggests moving the odd statues, but the minions object loudly. A minion says it is an honor to praise their savior so openly. Akihito is sweating nervously, clearly embarrassed by the over-the-top display of affection. Olivia covers her mouth and whispers that she's truly happy and very grateful. Her face lights up as she says meeting everyone has made her truly happy. Her heartfelt, emotional words move Akihito and the minions. The minions burst into cheers and announce a party to celebrate the new house. Akihito smiles, caught up in the joyful, festive atmosphere. He offers to cook for everyone and suggests a beach barbecue with ice cream. Olivia, eager to show her gratitude, insists on helping him cook. Akihito decides this is the perfect time to use his special food gacha. Choosing the gold tier, he hopes it will deliver something special for the party. An e-box appears with a fine bottle of wine and an assortment of snacks. He announces he's hit the jackpot while Olivia watches in wide-eyed amazement. Toby the sea lion arrives with a big catch of fish, and Olivia praises the good spot. Wearing her hair in pigtails, Olivia happily presents perfectly grilled fish on skewers. The whole found family enjoys a happy barbecue together in the forest clearing. Olivia smiles brightly and says that sharing a meal with everyone is both fun and delicious. Akita watches her, quietly content to see her so happy. He tells himself that her smile is what matters most to him. A bittersweet thought hits him, and he wishes they could stay together forever. It's an impossible dream, but he can't stop wishing for it. A large ship appears on the far horizon, heading for their island. Majestic galleon cuts through the waves, steadily approaching the shore. Aboard the ship, the Prince of Nissel orders his men to search the islands. Staring out at the sea, he vows to find Olivia, convinced she is still alive. A confident, possessive smile crosses his face as he says he is coming for his bride. A majestic galleon cuts through choppy waters toward a distant mountainous island. Perched in the crow's nest, a lookout scans the shoreline with his spyglass. From his vantage point, a pack of grotesque, multi-eyed devil rats hides among the rocks. High above the deck, the lookout warns of the many monsters. The Prince of Nissel is informed that no human signs can be confirmed on the island. He orders an immediate abort of the landing to avoid the dangerous shore. An officer tells the prince it will take several days to reach the next island. Regretting the delay, the prince trusts Olivia is waiting safely for him. He clenches his fist and imagines his beloved as a helpless girl suffering alone. Clutching his chest in theatrical anguish, he is sure she is waiting for his rescue. "Wait for me, Princess Olivia!" he calls out heroically as his ship sails away. The royal galleon sails steadily across the vast, empty ocean. Meanwhile, on the island, a cheerful Olivia asked who wanted more ice cream. Delighted minions cheer and eagerly form a line for another serving. After Akihito says he has had enough, Olivia offers to take over serving duties. Smiling warmly, he playfully insists on scooping the first bowl for her. Zakihito happily leads the minyan, while Olivia watches with a fond smile. Holding her bowl, she keeps her gaze on Akihito in quiet thought. Outside their newly built log cabin, a joyful scene unfolds. Around them, the minions are blissful as they enjoy their frozen treats. Bucci approaches Olivia, who looks thoughtful, and asks what seems to be on her mind. Smiling, Akihito says everyone can enjoy this wonderful time together because of him. Olivia admits she has always relied on Akihito and wants to do something for him. Bucci suggests she should get him a present in that case. The word present strikes Olivia like a bolt of lightning, and her eyes widen. Later, very drunk, Kimmy eagerly offers Olivia a bottle of wine. Olivia, already tipsy, agrees and says they should set aside etiquette for the night. From a distance, Akihito watches, pleased to see Olivia enjoying herself so freely. The next morning, Akihito stretches and admires the beautiful sky. From meeting Olivia to fighting giant centipedes, he recalls his adventures. A smile crosses his face as he realizes how steadily he and Olivia have grown closer. He's glad he could help Olivia enjoy herself. A sudden massive boom snaps him out of his thoughts, and he wishes the peace would last. Turning in shock with a bead of sweat on his face, he tries to figure out what happened. He stares at a huge crater where the forest has been wiped away. Terrified, he tries to figure out what caused such destruction. Olivia, unsteady and still drunk, staggers out of the cabin toward him. Grinning, carefree, and goofy, she asks Akihito if he wants to have a drink with her. Akihito asks Kimmy whether Olivia is drunk, but the samurai is too ashamed to answer. In a flashback, a pouting, drunk Olivia asked why Akihito would not drink with her. Declaring her sadness, she unleashes a catastrophic explosion of magical energy. A few days later, island life began to return to normal. Two minions meet and comment on how spacious and pleasant Akihito's room is. They peer into the new log cabin, their faces full of wonder and amazement. Kimi explains to a haggard Akihito what happened while he was passed out from drinking. He sternly warns Akihito never to let Lady Olivia drink alcohol again. In their new home, a pot of soup gently bubbles on the stove. Kimi sits at the table and impatiently asks Akihito if dinner is ready. As Olivia gets ready to eat, Kimi gruffly says he won't admit Akihito made the meal. Then he suggests they find a place to settle down, saying he'll only eat for today. Olivia brightens and asks hesitantly if they can go to the cave. Akihito agrees immediately, seeing a trip to the cave as a great idea. Olivia cheers, and Kimi grumbles that Olivia should at least help with the meal. Determined, Olivia decides to find a great gift for Akihito. Three companions stand before the dark cave entrance beside an odd cat-shaped statue. Kimi complains the statue is not bronze, while Olivia wonders what Akihito sees in it. Inside, Akihito spots Olivia looking dazed and asks if she is all right. She asked him to wait a moment while she steeled herself against the darkness. Akihito meets her gaze with a gentle, understanding expression. Now is the perfect time to use the points he's been saving. With a flash of light, he calls up 3 powerful headlamps from his menu. Amazed by the lights, Olivia says how wonderful it is to have her hands free. Before they go any deeper, Akihito decides to learn a new skill. Brimming with confidence, Olivia eagerly says they should get going. Watching her bounce with excitement, Akihito notes her high spirits. He warns her not to stray too far because they don't know what lies ahead. Kimi counters that Akihito is more likely to fall into a trap. Scanning the cavern walls, Olivia looks for something that would make a good gift. Not knowing his taste, she is determined to find something that will make him happy. The crude cat statue signals they are entering the level 3 danger zone. Akihito tightens his grip on his axe and tells his companions to watch for monsters. From high above, Olivia notices a faint glow inside a dark crevice. With surprising grace and agility, she begins to climb the sheer rock face. On the ledge, she finds a single beautiful glowing magic stone. Holding the crystal, she admires its graceful shape and the soft color of its light. Smiling contentedly, she thinks it would be a perfect match for Akihito. A dark, menacing shadow looms over her from behind. Akihito sees her on the ledge below and calls her name. His face twists into a sudden, wide-eyed look of horror at what he sees. From the shadows, a massive skeletal spider slides up behind Olivia, who is unaware. Startled, she turns at Akihito's cry, her face showing pure confusion. Akihito's eye twitches as his special ability kicks in with a sudden insight. His edibility judgment shows the bone spider is poisonous and pinpoints its weakness. Spotting the vital thread, he yells at Kimi to cut it. Kimi roars and wraps his body in magic as he leaps into the fight. Ordering Olivia to get down, he calls the monster a foul beast. A blur of motion, the samurai hacks at the creature's limbs with his katana. High above, Kimi warns Akihito that the monster is about to fall. Akihito steadies his stance, increasing his strength and responsiveness. His axe blade gleams as he raises it for a powerful strike. Leaping down, he slams his axe into the spider's skull with immense force, shattering it. From the ledge, Olivia and Kimi watch as the monster finally collapses. A rock slide starts, and Akihito quickly shields Olivia from the falling debris. Leaning over her with his headlamp smoking, he asks if she's okay. Bright headlamps glare into each other's faces, and both flinch. Kimi points to the exposed rock wall and asks what they have uncovered. Akihito finds a vein of pink-gold rock salt and says they are lucky to have found it. Excited, he tells subdued Olivia and the rest of us about the delicious food they can now make. Nearby, Kimi contentedly chews one of the spider's discarded bones. Olivia clutches her chest and admits the bone broth smells delicious. Filled with guilt, Olivia apologizes for her reckless actions and the trouble she caused them. Snapping his fingers decisively, Akihito declares he will use a newly learned skill. Summoning a brilliant dimensional storage vortex, he cheerfully tells them to put everything inside. Gleefully, they toss in heavy rock salt, celebrating the convenient new power. After storing their treasures, the group decides to leave the cave to take a break. Victorious, Kimi carries a bone from their big catch with pride. A frantic Buchi rushes toward them, shouting that something terrible has happened. Pointing toward the coast in horror, he reveals that a massive human ship has arrived. Akihito and Olivia stand stunned and silent, realizing their happy days are over.